2.
Trash.
We're live.
I give up.
Dude, Josh is ass at chess.
I just got smoked by Marla.
And then
Dude.
smoked you. Like
All
a
just-
blunt.
If you think Josh is bad at chess, you should fucking go game review the game I played against him at Lock-In. That game was a fucking special treat.
What happened?
I lost in probably the most horrific fashion that anyone has lost a chessboard. I was being coached by both Josh and by, I think, the coach of
Wait,
Armored
Josh,
Corps,
like the
which
person
I should have
who
known
you're
not to
playing
trust.
against?
I can't even remember this.
Wait,
Can we
This is like a
backtrack?
black
You guys
hole
didn't
in my
even intro
memory.
the episode at all. We're just like
Are we
here.
live?
Yeah, we're just talking about chess.
We're
this
talking
is
about
now
chess.
a chess.
Welcome back
This
to
is now a
Chess
chess.
I thought that
Chat,
was-
episode
no, but-
126.
Guys, we don't have to intro it. We're just like friends hanging out. That's why they like us. It's not professional. It's just a natural conversation. Hold on, wait. This better be royalty free. Welcome to welcome
We
to
already
Plat Chat
lost
Valorant,
monetization.
episode 126. That's fine. I mean, this show, we are ass at making money around here at the Plat Chat compound, I'll tell you that. There's one thing we're terrible at, it's monetizing this show, so fuck it. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? Welcome, everybody, to Plat Chat Valorant, episode 126. I'm here with Mimi, a evil cat, a sweaty sideshow gaming. He biked his little ass all the way through London to
Nando's?
get here. And here I am I just love that single shot of
Why
me,
are you
really
so
taking up a lot of space here.
You've just been abandoned. I mean, you're the last sole survivor in the Plat Chat compound.
Yeah. It's cool though, because I can just fucking rip the bong in the living room and Kurt can't stop me. Man, Balla TW is here as well. Wow, look at him go, drinking slurp juice and whatever. Dude, we have silly sound effects now. That's the new addition to the show. Maybe the budget is increasing. I'm looking at some insane stuff here on the run of show, specifically under the intro and assets tab. Now, apparently a lot of people have been asking where Connor's at, and in the intro assets, he befriended a group of retired vets outside of his apartment in Boca Raton, and that's why he hasn't been around. I don't know. I mean, listen, this is just the information I'm getting here as the Plat Chat host. I don't know how we're receiving this.
I haven't talked to him in ages. Is that true?
I haven't talked to him in 8 I mean, listen, I don't know. I haven't talked to him either, which leads me to believe he's been busy hanging out with his veteran friends. That evidently is the only logical conclusion.
No, but real
Josh,
talk, actually, Avast is sick. Wish him well. Get better, Avast. We love you. Miss you.
is he?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know.
Herpes?
Sick, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Probably.
that's what I heard.
Like sick as in like he was in the hospital to get treated or something. He posted on Twitter. Guys, did you guys not like follow your
I don't
friends?
look at Twitter.
I don't look at Twitter. I don't have it on my phone because I'm cool like that. Ooh, I don't use social media like you sheep. I go outside and look at trees. So
Oh, he's got H. pylori. He's got like a stomach ulcer.
Can you translate what that means for
Doctors.
non-goers? Yeah.
It's there was a big breakthrough. I don't know what year. Sometime in I don't know maybe or something where they figured out the stomach ulcers weren't caused by stress. They were caused by this H. pylori infection. And the person that discovered that found out by just drinking a bottle of it. He just drank a bottle of it and just gave himself stomach ulcers to prove that it was that was giving people ulcers.
That sounds like something you would do.
Yeah, I mean that's my inspiration in medicine, which is why I got kicked out.
I mean, yeah, 2 things here. One, of course, wishing Avast well. Love Avast. Also, I'm glad I got to experience in real time the first time I have ever seen Josh's medical knowledge from his stint studying to be a doctor actually have some kind of effect in real time. That was very cool.
Didn't
It
help
was all
anyone,
worth
did
it.
No,
It was all worth
he's
it.
been very
Well,
helpful in the past.
Maybe you should tell Avast to not drink H. pylori. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
be
I don't
smart.
think that was probably the cause of how he has developed, stomach and intestinal tearing.
When I like fell off a bike in Copenhagen and thought I had a concussion, Josh told me it was fine. So I didn't go see a real doctor because I trusted him. So he seems very medically adept.
Did he do
It
the
was
flashlight
fun.
thing at least? Look
I
at
don't
your
know.
eyes.
I did.
Oh, okay. all right.
Oh.
Yeah, see, I trust
Medical
him.
professional.
Yep, that's me.
The whole other side to Josh. That's crazy.
I'm like a D20. I got many sides. Half of them are shit.
the D20. What else has been going on, huh? Bren is gone. He's in Korea eating burgers. That's all I see him doing. Mimi's a content creator now. There he is. Bren looks like such a happy little lad. There was another
looks like
image of him eating some sort of Borgir, and he just looked so happy with his little sandwich.
Wait,
Well,
like
he posted
like
a
cheese?
he posted a picture of him eating a burger after he'd eaten $180 worth of sashimi. That's the McDonald's tweet there. I mean, Bren's timeline's an absolute
Bad man
unhinged mess.
check-in. Somewhere there. I mean, it's
There it is. The McDonald's.
Oh no, it's not even that one.
God, he looks like a giraffe, though, doesn't he? I mean, that's
Yeah, that can't be good for his spinal cord.
actually has the
that
red guard
position
posture.
right there.
yeah, he's got the red guard posture going on for sure, for sure.
That man's spine is in trouble. Anyhow, we could look at Bren's cat videos that he posts all day, or his gnome videos, but let's not do that. We're gonna talk about Valorant. It's the game. Oh, and also, wait, hold on. I missed this one. You see that behind me? It's that behind me. New set decor. The Plat chat skate deck.
Wow.
That we got
looks
sent
sick.
from Rig. It was pretty funny when we got the package. I liked that it was just addressed to Arton S. I was like, wait a second, that's Bull.
that?
Why is this at my house? Why did I just get a package for Paula?
Now when I do that identity things, like it's like, prove your identity. What's your social security number? Where have you lived in the past 3 years? And have the Plat chat compound. I don't know what the address is. I'm gonna be like, I've never lived there.
that is great though. That's like a Gecko tie-in, right? It's
Yeah.
like the Gecko skating.
They
Los
gave all
Angeles.
the
I didn't even connect those
influencers
dots.
skate decks because Gecko skates and tags things up. So it's a custom little thing
He's
that
like cool.
they gave. So
I think
many of
that's
the influencers.
dope. I think
And
that's fantastic.
Got mine to say Plat chat and sent it to the compound.
That's dope. Thank
I
you.
don't
like
need
a
anything on
legitimate
my
skate
bare
deck.
ass walls. Fuck these walls.
Wait, it was your idea, Balla?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, but I mean, thank you, Balla. So, I mean, Balla was actually the architect of this new set decor.
But
That's
thanks,
the
right.
You're right, games. Thank you, Bola.
All right. Let's talk about all of the things that have happened in the past 2 weeks. Oh yeah, and sorry for not being around last week, but you know, listen, we're busy. Everyone here, money moves, making shit shake. We don't have time to pod all the time, okay? So when we're here, you better like it. All right, now let's talk about Valorant. The talent was announced for VCT Americas. Wait a second, that's do we have can we pull up the graphic? I forget who's on it. I know Josh is, and Mimi because Mimi was Mimi is the first person.
That's the only
on
reason I
list.
keep that Twitter at.
And I see Vansili on there. That's pretty. I like Vansili. I like Vansili a lot actually.
The doctor is in session.
He's a lovable man.
Wait, who's that guy in
And-
the bottom right?
Don't know.
Looks like an
I've
android
seen
of
him
some
before.
It's Mela.
I've seen him
Robot.
before at Tip of the Hats.
Yeah, I definitely remember that guy from Tip of the Hats for sure. My favorite Team Fortress 2 / multi-content charity event. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. A lot of cool people. I'm gonna give Vansili a big hug and a big smooch. Doug is there with his sunglasses. Doug, there's something about Doug that I feel like he's some kind of younger esports Tom Cruise. Am I the only person who feels that way? Like
What,
he could
like
be
he's
in-
going to get into Scientology?
Well, not that part. More of like the
Yeah.
the sunglasses, like the Mission Impossible kind of vibes. That's kind
He
of what
does
I
his
get
own
from
stunts.
Doug. Yeah,
Like-
Doug would definitely do his own stunts.
Does do his
That's
own
the
thing.
vibe I'm getting from him.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the word you're looking for is Riz.
It might be
Esports
be
Riz.
that.
No, guys,
Yeah.
time has passed on that one.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Ah,
Yeah,
we're
you're so-
old
you're so
already.
old.
Fuck.
Ball
We're
is
a week
old.
behind. Week behind.
El Riz from Bala, not knowing that Riz is out already.
That's okay.
Also, I'm so goddamn small in this little box. I mean, we kind of acknowledged that already previous, but it just needs to be mentioned that I am just a little gnome in the corner.
just need a hat.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, and then all right. Also, some further, I guess, like tournament related announcements. Masters Tokyo it's not in Tokyo. Where is it? Is it in
Yeah.
Gary, Indiana? Where is Masters Tokyo going to be?
Not in Japan.
I have not looked at any of this. Someone give me the deep dive. Who can I trust to give me the facts?
So it's actually in Iceland, Reykjavik. We're going back
Oh.
for the third time.
That's cool.
cr-
I heard it was
crazy.
in Berlin, Germany for the 5th event.
Ah, right.
Okay.
Yep.
The
Who has the
horsing
real
around has got to
facts?
stop. The horsing around has got to stop. I got to know where this is.
Okay. It's in Chiba, which is like I think like either like kind of like a
It's an
suburb
hour.
or small city. I don't know if it's like its own like entity, but it's right outside Tokyo. From what I saw, it's about like an hour train journey from like the main center of Tokyo. So it's kind of out there, but it is still kind of in Tokyo.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like
I
it's
mean,
extremely far away from Tokyo.
It's
Yeah.
really far.
An hour on the train seems pretty distant from Tokyo. Now, I understand they did this for branding reasons, but maybe if they called it the other location or just,
Masters
like
Chiba.
Masters Japan, maybe then people wouldn't have been somewhat disappointed when it's not in Tokyo and it's called Masters Tokyo. That's my deduction with this little scenario.
It really isn't that far away, though. I'm looking at
Yeah.
it now. It's like a 40-minute drive. I mean, you're still inside LA, way inside LA. If you're 40 minutes drive away from, I don't know where you would even call it, like,
Yeah, but
downtown
It's
or
also
whatever.
2 a.m. or something like that in Japan right now, Josh.
What do you? What?
he's talking
What does
about
that have to do with it?
traffic.
I'm talking about the distance.
The
It doesn't matter what time
just,
it is.
You just said 40 minutes away by driving. That's with no traffic at all. Is what I'm saying. It's gonna be like
Right,
an
well-
hour and 30 minutes.
Right, well,
Oh.
I'm not saying that people are going to be driving there from the center of Tokyo. I'm just using it as an example of, like, this is how far away it is. I'm just
But
trying
bro,
to draw
what do you mean?
comparisons. Dude, if you drove fucking an hour and a
Nobody's
half
gonna
in
say
London...
Chiba.
But my point being that this is essentially just a suburb on the outskirts, isn't it? It's not like it's in fucking
No.
Narnia. It's right there. I mean, there are if this was a city that people were more familiar with, wouldn't this just be normal? Like, it's in LA, but it's actually not in LA. It's in, like, I don't even know what like, if it was in...
I mean, every event has been
Santa
like an
Ana
hour
or
away.
something, or if it was in down in... I don't
it's
know.
like
It's
how-
like it's not far away, is it?
Right. It's like Ralph Wilson Stadium being in Orchard Park, which isn't technically Buffalo. Right? Am I?
Don't know that one. Don't know
Back
that
me
one.
up here.
It has not been called Okay, first of all, that's a reference to the Buffalo Bills stadium. Second of all, it's not called Ralph Wilson Stadium. It's been like named 3 different things since
I know,
then.
but that's that's the iconic name, though.
Sure.
But that's how we all know it.
No, but
I
that
think
was
we
for
can all
Kurt.
agree.
That's
That
how
was
Brett
for
Favre
Kurt.
played,
That's when he was
right?
named the longest, though. So that's like still the name in my brain,
What
not
are you
whatever the
talking
fucking AT&T KeyBank Arena or whatever corporate bullshit it is now.
Yeah, true. Down with the corporations.
I agree. Is this where we take a stand and go and on this?
This is
the hill?
to die on.
Is this where we take a stand against our corpo overlords when they misbranded Masters Tokyo? Are you guys upset?
It's a little
No.
funny. It's a little funny for people to clown on it and call it Masters Chiba. A little funny. I'll give them that. But also, I think most events happened pretty far outside of the city center. Like Brazil was in Narnia, or not Brazil. Turkey was in Narnia. That stadium was so far away from the city center.
Yeah, it was quite
Brazil was right in the city center, but like at the same time, Tokyo is like a massive like megapolis. Very fun word.
What
is a
and
megapolis?
even-
Megalopolis.
Megalopolis. Don't care. Close enough. Don't care. Close enough. And it's on Tokyo Bay. It's basically right there. It's an hour train ride. That is not that bad. Actually, not that bad.
Well, I
You're
suppose
just
the,
happy
the
you
only
get to ride a train. Like, what are you talking
I mean, they'll
about?
have us ride a van. I'm happy the people get to ride a train.
The trains there are fucking sick too. So it's not. I mean, listen, it's not that
the
bad.
only question would be if it actually affects viewership, right? Like if it's difficult for people to get there, or if like the audience doesn't turn up or something. But there's no way the Japanese crowds are going to turn out for so many of these games, even without the Japanese teams
Isn't
there.
the
I think.
bigger issue just like the fact that it's like a smaller venue than even the
Yes, I
Challengers
think that
playoff one? It's like 7,000 people or something like that max in the finals venue, and the groups one is even lower.
Right, but I think it makes sense from Riot's point of view when you look at the audience. Like the ticket sales are always very good towards the end of these events that we've been running, but the ticket sales like early on in the events, even for the big ones, just don't. We're not filling stadiums at the moment. Even though in Japan it looks like we would be, I think it makes sense to play it a little safer and just have more densely packed situations rather than have a massive arena that looks empty. Because the whole point of having an audience there in the first place is for two reasons, right? You want it to feel good for the people at home, really, because that's where the vast majority of your audience is. And you want to add a level of prestige because it feels better for the players and the audience at home to see people in person reacting and enjoying it, and it helps bring the emotion out of you as well. So it's better to have a small venue that's crammed compared to an airport hangar that has 10% of the space filled.
Right. Now, how small is too small, Josh? Would you say 150 seats for a tournament that peaked at 240,000 viewers would be too small? Because I think that would be
that's
too
a good
small
point.
personally.
Well, did you see the statement that Leo made? I mean, we're referencing here the Game Changers.
That was a segue, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a fucking
Yeah.
pro. It's time to talk about the game changers. What is it called? Like champion? I forget how what the final tournament is exactly.
Changers Championship.
Championship?
It's a
Right. So the
champion.
Game Changers Championship details were announced, and they're not great. Like they're not great. Someone has to someone try to explain to me what the fuck is going on there, because I think this is some nonsense.
Well, Leo had a post about it as well.
Get a tweet and then a post.
Yeah, and the post got kind of pulled out in its own separate Reddit thread as well. But he was basically saying that they are prioritizing that they only have a certain amount of resources to be able to dedicate to events like this. And if they dedicate massive resources to having the infrastructure to bring big crowds, they would have to pull back in some other area on the broadcast itself, is like what he's essentially saying in the statement. So they wanted to prioritize getting eyeballs on the product rather than having people there in person.
So it comes
Now,
down to money. Wyatt. Money.
what?
Money.
I mean, yes, it is money. I mean, what's crazy is like everything, Josh, you were just saying about the tournament, about the Masters Tokyo, not Tokyo tournament with the crowd and how that adds prestige and how it adds this cool feeling for the viewers, and you can kind of vicariously feel yourself there through the crowd even at points when you're feeling that same excitement as them, and how they also drive up the excitement for the viewers at home. I don't understand how the event was such a remarkable success last year. Probably the most successful women's esports event ever. The storylines, the quality of games, and everything gets pulled back, yet they want to increase the viewership of it this year. Less teams, not increasing the audience size. Same format as last year with the weird points system that people don't particularly like because it's not very good. and yet they want to increase viewership. I mean, again, money, but I just don't see.
Let me put on my corpo hat for a second.
The idea. Okay, defend
because
it.
Leo gave. I'm not necessarily defending. I'm just putting on my corpo hat, and I'm talking from the corporate side of things. Leo gave the statement in a couple different tweets talking about how like they feel like this is fit. They want to focus on Masters and Champions. They want women playing at the international stuff. That's probably more of just the spin answer. I think the real answer, he also tweeted, was, this is a quote from Leo in one of his tweets, fair. This is replying to someone who is talking about how, what if we had a middle ground? What if we went up to like 1,000 seats? And he says, fair, but we'd lose the ability to use our studios around the world, like we did last year in Berlin. Less money / calories spent on venue rental, power, AC, practice rooms, etc. means more investment in features, content, storytelling, dope visuals, and a better event overall. And I think that's just that. It is very, very expensive to run roadshows and to rent out venues. And it's a recession right now. And with the budget that they have allocated for this, it's way cheaper to use a studio that you already own and you already have employees that work in, that you already know how to run an event out of. I think that's why they did it. Am I disappointed? Yes.
Yeah, but I think that you have to, if you agree with, I think that it makes sense, the decision that they've made, if you take the assumption that their resources are limited and they don't want to scale it up to be a whole secondary circuit. But you have to already have that assumption that it's it's not even a secondary product, because it's not something that they're trying to build up to the same level. It's actually just something that they want to keep at the same level whilst funneling people into the main system.
The thing is, building it up as its own entity and incentivizing more women to play in it by upping the prestige a bit seems like it would achieve what they're trying to achieve, which is having them just play, having the competitors and game changers play in the regular circuit. But what, we're going to make them play, they're going to be incentivized to play in the Knights monthly cups because game changers is not as good as it was. Exactly. I mean, that's just, that is asinine. But
I think
also,
they're missing connective tissue there between the game changers circuit and the VCT circuit. I think it's there is nothing that bridges that gap. There's no kind of like way of translating from one to the other, and there's no incentive to even go from one to the other apart from let's make game changers a little shittier.
But also, I just don't even, I think the notion of we're not trying to make it Masters or Champions, I don't mean this in a negative way, but it'll never, no matter how many resources are poured into it, it will never be Masters or Champions, because one of them is the wide main scene. Game Changers is a niche product for a more niche audience. But that, and with that being the case, why not build it up to be as big as it can be as its own entity? Also considering like what Avast has talked about on the show previously when we were talking about Game Changers, with how it can activate many different kinds of sponsors that are not interested in other leagues. There are different products and things that can just be advertised to a totally different audience, and you can bring in new sponsors there. It's a very friendly product for those who want to be involved in it. And also, but for reference, by the way, the Red Bull Campus Clutch, which was also in Brazil, had about from what I've heard and looking into it, had about double the live capacity. They had like 300 something there. And the Red Bull Campus Clutch, by the way, peaked at 1/10 of the viewers of Game Changers. So I just don't really see how you can't even even just taking it to that level, just even doubling from what they had at the Game Changers Championship last year, tripling it, getting up to like 500. I mean, shit, at 150, 2/3 of the seats are going to be taken up by G2 flying out all of their employees to cheer for them. It's just, I just don't, I can't get behind this. I think it's not, I just don't think that this is the solution, bringing it, scaling things back, but wanting to increase viewership. And I just don't see it here. And what you said, Josh, sorry to cut you off, Paula, but what you said, Josh, as well about needing to then bridge the gap in some way. This is just furthering the gap. Like, where is the crossover? It's just, sorry, go on, Paula.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I resonate a lot with the idea that like you should just grow it as big as it can be, and the thing that I really take, I mean, there's a couple of things that I take major issues with, but one about the size of the audience right now is last year it felt like all the communication, everything was, we want to do bigger, better next year, right? And they've reneged on that significantly and decided that, and by Leo's statements, decided that this is kind of okay. This is kind of where we want to be, which to me is a shift in not only like vision of where they want game changers to be, but also just like what we were already on as a trajectory. And maybe that's due to the economy, maybe that's due to recession, like Mimi was saying. But I think you're talking about like improving by a couple hundred seats or something like that. That's the sort of marginal and incremental improvements that I would have expected, not necessarily, you know, going crazy with major stadium. But the other thing too is like when comparing it to Masters and Champions, like something that we're not really seeing is a growth in that regard on the audience side, especially after now we've seen lock-in and we're going to Japan with this 10K or whatever. We're not growing that much either. I think the real best way to do it would be let's grow both sides at the same time and cap out however much you can go, rather than just say, oh well, this is kind of where we want to end up at.
When it comes to a wider discussion though about filling seats in esports arenas, you got to remember that Valorant has never had a tradition, a culture of going to see live events. It was a game that was born in the pandemic when people were not going outside. Every part of the viewership is, you know, online. We've been running online circuits for a long time before the LANs even began. A lot of the viewership is co-streams, which is, you know, disincentivizes people to go to live events. And I think esports in general needs a bit of a reassessment of what live events even mean, because no matter where you are in the world, you're still watching it on a screen. You're not watching the fucking players on the stage. You're not watching people kicking a ball around. You know, you're literally watching the same screen that you would be watching if you were sat in a bar or you sat at home or you sat in a watch party or something. So the entire concept of the like putting butts in seats is again, I think that the important point is not that you're trying to put as many people in the arena as possible. It's that it helps you with the prestige and the branding of it too. And that's why I think there is still a chance to save this kind of concept if they, because the whole point of the Game Changer circuit that they have set it out to be, because they're not trying to make their own separate, like, you know, WNBA or like the women's tennis circuit or something, that what they're trying to do is attract as many players as possible into Game Changers that would otherwise not be playing competitively, and then try and create a pipeline into their main VCT circuit. The pipeline doesn't currently exist into the VCT circuit, but in terms of getting people in, that's where the lack of the crowd hurts, right? Because it doesn't have the same level of prestige. You're not really like, you're not sat there thinking, I want to compete, I want to be there, I want to be on that stage. But if they genuinely put a lot of the money into, oh, hello, we've lost Wyatt. Oh,
hello?
Maybe not. Hello, you're back. Sorry,
okay.
I was going to say, if they put a lot of the money that they've saved by not having a crowd into the branding, into the features, into the marketing, then that's essentially what the crowd is there for anyway. So if they really go fucking hard in the paint with the content and the features, like they've said that they will in this, if they actually do what they've said they will, you might end up with a better product for the people at home. And you might have more of the storylines told and more of the, like, you know, wanting to be that person that's having the feature made about them or lifts the trophy or whatever. But it comes down to how they, you know, enact on what they're trying to do and whether or not it's just bullshit spit.
The thing is too, but you know, also what I think all the teams at the Game Changers Championship displayed was a natural, just a natural enthusiasm and excitement and display of their personalities that was significantly better than any of the teams that participate in Masters or Champions. And it was so effective for this natural marketing of the event because they were making storylines with just displaying their personalities and how excited they were to be there. And also, you know, it doesn't help with crossing over, having less teams competing at a LAN, at a prestigious event, getting that invaluable experience, growing as players, playing under the pressure scenario where there is a larger crowd and there's less teams competing as well. It's just, I don't know. I'm very disappointed, frankly, with how this is shaped up.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it's shown that this product is really, really valuable for Riot. Like this is last event, most viewed women's tournament that is like ever happened, or women's and marginalized gender tournament that has happened in any esport. And since then, even a lot of other esports have started to take this model and start to copy it and make their own investment into it, and seeing the success that Riot has managed to found. They really, I think, were able to hit a niche here that no game was able to hit before. And seeing this pause in ramping that we're seeing here feels to me very disappointing. I really want to see that trade-off. If we don't get more seats, that's okay, but I want to see more teams at the event, or more investment in content, or something like that that is that is actually like palpable, that we can actually see. But I don't know if we're going to get this. I understand it's a tough like economic situation right now. I understand why they made this decision, but I think this is kind of a crossroads where you kind of have the choice. Do you want to continue to develop this product to be something that people will like specifically be fans for and specifically tune in for and really want to dedicate themselves to? Or do you want it to continue to be very much, I mean, it will always be a secondary or supplemental product to the main VCT circuit, but how low do you want, or how do you want to incentivize that? And how do you want to be able to pull fans? Because the point you brought up, Wyatt, I think is really important, that there are a lot of players here that are like kind of naturally just like infectious in their personalities. Like people love like Fennel because they were doing like the weird little dance every time they were losing, or Mimi on G2 because of the antics that were being put on display throughout. So I think there are fans that were earned from the last tournament. I think the viewership shows that. And also, to go back to the point that you were talking about around what Connor was saying, this is a very sellable product, which I think is part of the reason why we've seen investment from other esports like Overwatch with their Calling All Heroes tournament, which was a big success for them, is that this is an opportunity to build something further. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just disappointed. I'm not as mad about the seats as much I am about the teams. Like maybe 16 is unreasonable, but like even getting a few more, especially since it's Brazil and we're only gonna have one Brazilian team playing in person. Like the energy that we saw at Lock-In from having Brazilian teams in front of a Brazilian crowd, like that was absolutely fantastic. And obviously with the smaller seats, it wouldn't be the same, but yeah, I think there was space to do more here, and I understand why they didn't. And I just wish that we had a little more.
I think we should also talk about the choice of Brazil as a spot for game changers. Specifically, something that stood out to me in Leo's statements was that he continued to say men and women rather than using even more inclusive language that includes trans, that includes NBs, that includes a whole bunch of other marginalized players in the community. And Brazil is, I guess they're choosing it because Team Liquid Brazil had some success. I guess they're choosing it because they have a large Brazil studio that they can use. But it's somewhat disappointing that we're selecting places that aren't necessarily known for like good treatment of the LGBTQ community that we're trying to uplift with this Game Changers initiative. Not necessarily like speaking of any statistics or anything like that, but there are places in the world that are much, much, much better suited to celebrate LGBTQ people in general. So choosing Sao Paulo and Brazil, which we just went to, by the way, is definitely kind of odd to me.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
I was having this conversation with the people in my community as well about that too, because the thing that stands out is that there's massive rates of violent crime and murders, right? Like it's the #1 place in the world for murders of trans people globally. But part of the reason when you dig into that further is that the murder rate in Brazil is insane. Like their murder rates are extremely high and their population is massive. So when you look at, I digged into the numbers a little bit here again, but it's like there's 8 murdered trans people per million inhabitants for Brazil, which is 8 times higher than the US, which is crazy. But their murder rates are also significantly higher just overall. But there's still about like 50% more, 45% more, something like that, murdered trans people for every 1,000 murders in Brazil compared to the US. So it's not it's not as extreme as it looks when you first see that stat, but it's still not a, you know,
Not a good picture. It's not a good look.
it's not. No, it's not a good.
No.
It's not a good look, and it's also not just a good look. It's not really even about the optics. It's about like putting the community that you are trying to have a like safer atmosphere for into a country where they might not feel safe. It's
yeah,
a bit
absolutely.
it's a bit
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, it is just fucking ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, also just I still think that, you know, we're still at a time also where with people's online behavior and still how common it is, the Game Changer still needs to be grown because there still just needs to be a safe place for women and marginalized groups to play. I mean, it's just, we're not at a place yet where it's just, you can just throw everyone into the regular scene. I mean, how often do we see constantly posts of players, like competitive teams, someone is streaming and they say some outlandish sexist shit about the other team? Like, there still needs to be a well-supported safe space for these for all these people to play and to start competing. People are still put off all the time from competing and taking gaming seriously because of still how rampant that behavior is. It's, you know, it's not just suddenly better, and Game Changers just still needs as much support as possible. So yeah, just again, disappointed. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to say or anything more to say, but if not, we can move on. Start talking about some other of the news and things that have been happening in the scene. Obviously, all of the franchise leagues are going to kick off very shortly. I mean, APAC starts very soon, right?
Friday.
Like in 2 days, yeah.
Yeah, like a couple days. Americas is going to start in early April. And Crew, one of the teams in the Americas, have brought back Keznit, the iconic Crew player from the pre-franchised era.
What are teams doing in this offseason, man? What has happened in the offseason?
Well,
I knew that teams
yeah.
I knew that teams would make some changes, right? Because you were forced to sign a certain amount of players by a deadline. And then there was quite a long gap before the seasons would begin. But the changes have been bizarre. I mean, so many really strange changes. Like this one, for example. Presumably, Keznit... listen, reading between the lines here, not that I've got any background information, but presumably Keznit was looking to leave Crew for other opportunities at the beginning of the offseason. And now that he got benched on Leviathan, is coming back because he wants to play? I mean, that would be my assumption.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the case. And you know, I guess Crew dissatisfied with their performance at Sao Paulo, feeling like they needed to make a change, or maybe just the prospect of getting Keznit back, and with him being such a big player for Crew previously, they just wanted to jump at that opportunity. I mean, it didn't really... I mean, I wouldn't say that they should have been making a change after lock-in. I mean, they just lost to Navi, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, they didn't have a great performance, though, in the what was the other cup that they
Star
played?
Red Bull?
Gods, Latam Gods. No, that was
No, I was talking about the Red Bull one,
Red Bull,
but
yeah.
did
They
they
had a
play in
sub
the
there as well.
in the Movistar?
No,
Oh, right. Yeah, they didn't play.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is also interesting about this one is Zand had picked up was in part doing the IGLing for this team, and Lisa, the coach they've had for a long time, is gone. So the Crew organization has just completely cleared out the leadership of this team, and it's brought this guy in instead. Obviously, Melzer had kind of just picked up that like for them at lock-in, so it'll probably continue to be him leading the team. But now they don't have a coach. Maybe they pick up a new one. I don't know. This just feels like such a weird move. Literally just minus Keznit plus Keznit again. It feels like this isn't necessarily what's going to fix this team, because the Crew that was stronger, I think, than this current iteration of Crew, even when they had Keznit, was never really able to make those waves in a very long time at international events. And now cleaning everything up, like, a month before Americas starts. I don't know. I feel like they needed some kind of change, but I don't know if this is.
What I also don't quite understand is that there's other free agents available in the in the like LATAM circuit that would have made sense if they wanted to fully reshift their roster heading in. Like, if you're gonna make these kind of changes, why not make more changes and try and restructure the team dramatically heading into the circuit? Because it's clear when you look at the competition in the Americas League that crew are somewhere towards the bottom of the pile, right? And just making a couple of shifts isn't going to move the needle too much. Yeah, keznit might be a good enough player to get you a map win here or there when he has a pop-off game, but he's not going to shift the needle much over the course of an entire season, I don't think. So if you're really aspiring to do something, then maybe you want to be looking towards some of the other players that, some of the players that got dropped by Leviathan earlier on in the year, or some of the other players that have been coming up through the LATAM circuit. But instead, they have kept some of their players that didn't have great performances. Like Klaus was the IGL, but he wasn't putting up huge numbers or anything. His gameplay wasn't anything massive to write home about. But now that he's not IGLing, seems like a player that you could maybe make an upgrade on. Nags as well. I mean, we've seen some really poor performances from Nags at previous events. Some up, some down, but mostly down. And he's still on the roster, whereas Shandy isn't. I don't understand it. It doesn't look like it's the most talented roster they could have put together, and it doesn't look like the most well-constructed roster either in terms of roles or IGLing or that kind of stuff. It just looks like a mess.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a bad move for keznit, bad move for crew. I don't think anybody is going to come out of this positively because keznit, I think, could have had opportunities to not necessarily on Leviathan learn or anything like that, but I want to see him play in a system that's not built around him, because I think that's where he's going to need to learn and improve to the player that we know he probably has the potential to be, because he has shown flashes of insane skill, but just not on a team that is structured enough to do what I personally think he should be going for. So for him to come back into this makes me think they're going to fall back on old things as well, and especially with the niche or the clique that they're going to form with Nags and Klaus, and then it's also going to be mismatched with whatever other players are going to play, what Davies and Melzer, I guess. I don't necessarily see that going well, given what we just saw at Lock-In. Yeah. I don't see them improving. Obviously, that's goes without saying with what I'm saying, but I don't see how you take those two sections of the team and create something good out of that. I don't see how you could even create something that's going to give you a pipeline to something good, not even incrementally.
It does look like it's going to be a rough year for crew fans, and there's a lot of crew fans.
Yeah, definitely. All right, keep it moving. One of the kind of discussions that have been going on via some tweets that were posted was talking about player salaries. And I think it's an interesting discussion to have, which is how much necessarily do players, quote unquote, deserve if they don't put effort into building their brand. And this started from a tweet from Portillo, who's the social media manager for Cloud9. And he said, take. Pro players shouldn't be paid loads of money if they don't put effort on taking care about their image. Playing the game, practicing, and winning are not the only job of a pro player. Pros also have to work on their social numbers, personal brand, and content creation. Now, immediately, one of the things I think about as well with this take is that a lot of times orgs are incentivized, if they're doing their role correctly, to pick up upcoming talent, be able to scout for upcoming talent to upgrade their rosters at times, and those players don't have a lot of brands. And I think that orgs also have a responsibility to effectively market their players. They should also be the ones with employees and a lot of experience with growing brand, and they have a big role to play in making sure that their players increase all of those relevant numbers. And those numbers are extremely important for the org, absolutely. I could kind of talk about it from a bit of my perspective of when I was running like a tier 2 org and how important that was and difficult at times to reason out, paying players and how much you spend versus the numbers and what you're getting back, and then also competing against organizations that had a lot of investment and were willing to just give outrageous salaries to players that had 1,000 followers, and it was just so difficult to compete in that environment. But I think orgs are getting more savvy to what is actually necessary to make profit, and how influencers are oftentimes so much more important to that than actual just hard dedicated esports players. But I don't want to just start off here by going on a rant. So if someone wants to go ahead and pick it up and give their take, Josh, I feel like you're ready to say something.
I just don't get the take, because doesn't the market already account for a lot of this anyway? Like the pro players are paid more when they have big brands. It's not that they like deserve it more or less or something. Like it's just a valuable thing for an org to pick up a player that has a really big brand. You see it with, a player like TenZ, for example, and the very first time that he went from Cloud9 to Sentinels. Part of the reason that buyout and salary is so large is because he has a brand, whether or not that's to do with how he plays or whether that's to do with the YouTube or whatever. But players have a value that's already put into their salary. It's not like you pay them purely based on what they do in the game, and then you expect them to also be making YouTube videos, and if they don't, you're like, tut, listen, we're paying you all this money. Like, you're already factoring it in based on what you know about the player and what you know about their ability to create content and manage their brand at the beginning. I don't really understand the take, if I'm honest, because I think the market handles most of it anyway, doesn't it?
Pull the tweet back up real quick. Like, what does it say?
Deserve in the tweet? Okay, take pro players shouldn't be paid. No, it
shouldn't be paid loads of money if they don't put effort on taking care of their image. But isn't that's not even a take?
Doctors shouldn't be paid loads of money if they don't put effort about taking care of their, like, what the fuck? It's like engineers shouldn't be paid if they don't put what? No, that's not how it works.
I think we
you don't
should
have to have a
ignore,
brand on top of the fucking regular job that you do. The regular job is what you're getting paid for, and if you have extra stuff, you'll get paid for that stuff too. But like, it's
but I agree with the take, because if you read the first sentence, it's just shouldn't be paid loads of money if they don't put effort on taking care of their image. If they don't take care of their image, they're going to be worth less, so they're going to get paid less money. Like it already happens. It's not like the orgs take the money away. I mean, they just don't offer them as much at the beginning because they're not as big of a brand. I don't understand. It's already happening. It's not a take. It's just a fact.
Yeah, he has said nothing. He said nothing in that take. But
that's why I'm not understanding it. He must be meaning something else. He must be meaning that he thinks the players have an obligation to improve while they're under contract. No? Because otherwise it's not a take, it's just a fact. But I think he must mean that they have an obligation to continue working on it. Like, for example, if TenZ signed to Sentinels that very first time and then just abandoned his YouTube channel, that's got to be what he's talking about, no? But who the fuck does that?
Right.
No one does.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think that's the thing is, TenZ was already a big content creator, and I imagine, he's paying an editor for YouTube and TikTok and already has, like, the TenZ industrial complex of content, right? But for these new guys that you're picking up, as I was saying, I think it's, if you want to get the numbers up, it is the org's responsibility. I mean, like I said, oftentimes you're signing players who don't have a big brand. They're either upcoming players or solid pro players that are focused on being pro players. And it's hard to be a content creator and practice effectively, compete in all the tournaments. The time you have to spend VOD reviewing, scrimming, all of that, and you have to make YouTube videos and stream and everything all the time at the same time. Again, I think this is the org's responsibility to a large extent to be coming up with good content ideas and creating additional content that works. Like 100 Thieves, I think, for example, they've done a really good job of that with their second dedicated Valorant esports channel. They get great viewership on that channel. They do a good job making content with players whose brands aren't necessarily huge, like Bang, Stellar. Those guys don't have huge brands yet. They're growing, and 100 Thieves have been doing a good job of assisting in that by putting them in good content ideas that are generating views. Like that, I think is such an immense part of that.
We.
Yeah.
What is that? Okay, but
We.
anyhow.
I do think though that there's a bit like there is an obligation on the organization because it's mutually beneficial to the org and to the player while they're under contract.
Yes.
But for the pro player, there is always a benefit. Even you can take advantage of that organization boosting your numbers while you're with them. But then you can use that and go elsewhere and bring that benefit along with you. So
anybody, it's useful to fucking grow your brand and create content and la 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 la.
And you'll get paid more.
You'll get paid more, and you'll get other opportunities. Like,
Yeah.
Brand good. also,
I'm glad we came to
guys, can we stop interrupting Mimi? It's literally Women's History Month.
He says interrupting Mimi.
I'm not gonna be able to build a fucking history if I can't say anything. Jesus Christ. Okay, I don't even remember what the fuck I was gonna say at this point. But it depends. It depends. In different games, there are different approaches to how brands are built. You look at a game like fucking Counter-Strike. Absolutely, no one has a brand in that game. No one is relevant. Like the top 10 players on like the HLTV top 10, none of them are relevant. Compared to Valorant, I think most players do a fairly good job of building their brand. Most, I think. Not most, but more than some other esports of the top players in this game already are putting that commitment there. I just think it's kind of like a thing where if you do it, if you have the time, that's great, because when you eventually start sucking and get fired, you have an easy fallback. And if you don't, you have stronger power in negotiations. I don't think there's necessarily, we shouldn't be like, oh my God, this guy gets paid so much money and doesn't play well. That's whatever. Or sorry, doesn't create good content. As long as they're playing well, that's fine. You're hired for one thing. That's it. It just depends on what the org's expectations are of you and how you meet them.
We could have such more interesting conversations about this if the salaries were public.
True.
Oh, that would be.
Also,
I mean,
That
I got
would
one
be-
more hot
Yeah,
take.
you're right.
Sports, right?
one more hot take. The players' brands should be much bigger than they are by just being good players, and it should just happen naturally in esports.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is also very true.
I mean, I think that happened to an extent. Look at Ye. I don't think he ever put a big emphasis on streaming until after he got popular as a player. I think his brand
Yeah.
only grew because he was a good
Oh, it
player.
does. It does.
All right, let's keep it pushing. Speaking of Ye, Cloud9 have just signed, or well, allegedly have just signed the replacements for Ye and Vanity. So the report is they've signed a couple players in the tier 2 scene, more in that upcoming category of Rooney and Jake. A few ways to approach this. I think Sean had posted something that I think is pretty relevant to this as well, which was just hoping that the community doesn't go too hard on these guys if Cloud9 are not, hitting their stride and they're struggling here in the Americas League, because these guys are thrown into a really tough situation. I mean, first time playing in the tier 1 scene, you're on Cloud9, you're thrown right into the franchise league, and you're replacing the GOAT of Valorant as a new guy. I mean, that is just, of course, listen, they got to take the opportunity and try their best, but tough situation for those guys coming in.
It's also really difficult, I can imagine, for a player in this situation where I think the community generally is going to be rooting for the players, but kind of hating the org for what they've, if Cloud9 end up losing, but they've got some close games or genuinely anything for people to hold on to as fans or as viewers, that there's going to be a lot of talk about, how Cloud9 threw the season away and Cloud9 this, Cloud9 that, like shitting on Cloud9. But I think for a player, that'll be really difficult because there's going to be a lot of hate surrounding the organization if they do badly, but it's not supposed to be directed towards the players. And that's quite difficult, I would imagine, for a player on the team to try and separate those two things in their head. Personally, I would love to see these players succeed. I'd love to see the players succeed, but I'm kind of going to be pissed if the org succeeds in this way. I mean, I suppose if the org succeeds, that's actually just a sign that they
The players and
had
coach and
a
stuff.
decent read. Yeah, like credit.
I mean, I think that
to-
might be.
to
I think
MCE.
that would just. Sorry to cut you off. Sometimes it's so hard to hear
No, that's fine.
talking to try to pick it up. But I was going to say, it's. I think if anything, if it succeeds, I think it's just a second testament to MC being the fucking GOAT. I mean, that's, I think,
Yeah.
what it'll really be. Because he's had to, I mean, this is also so tough for him. I mean, it's, I mean, I think it's in a way is going to put a lot on the line for him, because if we're keeping it real, people only really remember your last at bat. Like they've already moved on. I mean, I already see so many dumbass takes about MCE from Cloud9 so far, just totally writing off how far he took the guard. Earlier last year.
I saw something on I don't know where I saw it, but someone saying MCE's teams were always performed badly at LAN. The guard got dominated at LAN, and then Cloud9 went out, and I'm like, motherfucker, what are you talking about?
What?
There's like a sample size of 4 games.
Yeah, I mean,
with teams that weren't, that didn't have experience at that level.
That's
it
deranged.
is silly.
But
Silly champ.
I don't really know anything about Jakey. I think he was like a legit player, if I recall. But I've actually seen some of Rooney's games, and he's actually been like a very impressive player that I think has had high expectations in the community for a while. For those that don't know, he was the IGL of a team called Zero Marksman Black that was actually kind of doing pretty solid in tier 2 of like mid 2022, something like that. And then was most recently playing with Sonics after they exploded their roster for the second time. And has always been solid. I'm guessing he's gonna call for this team. He was IGLing for his last squad. So I'm just interested because I think he's looked like a good player in tier 2, but this is a very, very different race. And yeah, it's gonna be just a testament of how good is MCE actually with the scouting, and also how much time does this team have to adapt? Because you're working with 2 players who have, I don't think, ever played on stage in person before, have never played at a tier 1 level, have never probably played against most of these teams besides maybe occasionally in an event or in scrims or something like that. And this is now going to be this massive step up that feels like it's bound for failure. But if it somehow works out, if something somehow happens, I mean, that's just like miraculous, good for the players. But yeah, Cloud9.
Whoever ends up IGLing this team, if it is Rooney, like, has such a tough situation to deal with between the different expectations from the 2 sides of the team, right? There's the side that has been there, that's Leaf, Zeppa, Zolcis, and then there's the side of these 2 players, Jakey and Rooney, who like are very different experience-wise, very different even potentially caliber player-wise, and how much like they've learned over their careers and whatnot, and where they've been. And that to me is a very difficult thing to reconcile. If you think about the guard was everybody basically hasn't really gotten their big shot. Maybe they've had varying differences of experiences back then too, especially like Trent, but Trent is one person in comparison to the grand scheme of things. This is 2 with 3 very, very, very experienced players with good brands, with potential like in the past of being top 5 players. Like that is a whole different level of ego that I think is going to be really difficult for MCE and whoever calls for this team to manage. And that to me is the most important thing.
And just to talk about expectations for a little bit, this team should be expected to go 0-6 to start the league. I mean,
with their schedule,
their schedule is not good. Because they have, on paper, it seems like their most winnable match early on is their first game, but this team has not been scrimming together for very long. They've been trialing players, trying to find replacements. I don't think that you should anticipate this team being in a ready position until we get maybe halfway through the split or something. Maybe a little earlier than that, but I don't think they're going to be in a spot to beat EG, even though that's one of their more winnable matches, perhaps. But then they face Loud, 100 Thieves, NRG, Furia, who did quite well, Sentinels, who have such incredible talent, and then it's MIBR, and at that point, they're already 0-6. So, the expectation, and I'm not saying they will go 0-6, that's not me predicting that, although it could well happen. But I'm saying the expectation should be set at the fucking floor so that if these players are able to perform any better than that, I think they should be given an enormous amount of credit, and the coaches as well, because the spot they've been put in is a spot where you expect a team to flop. You're not expecting fucking miracles to appear here and this team to instantly get it together with two players that are inexperienced and IGLing for the first time and all the stuff that Bala just talked about. Like, you should expect this team to fail to some degree because they've been set up to fail by the organization. So if they don't fail, that in itself is a success story.
Yeah.
I also think beyond just like the kind of gap of players that this has in terms of caliber, I think it's also going to be interesting if they can fit together culturally. I don't know what either Rooney or Jakey are like, but from some of like the comms content and some of the stuff that like just like tweeted publicly, like the core of this Cloud9 team is both like fairly close together, and they're also like pretty big like and like shit talk each other and just kind of like have that kind of like vibe, which I think was very much like the vanity vibe back when he was on this team. So I'm wondering how they're going to be able to fit into a group that already has people that are kind of well established between each other or already friends. Is it going to be able to mesh together in a good way, especially since they're probably going to be moving to LA, having to live with each other? It's just so many things that are changing for the team that honestly, Josh, if you said they're expected to go 0-6, I think that's very reasonable. Predicted that outright because that should be what this team's probably going to do.
We also we didn't do an episode last week, and last week, like 2 weeks ago, that was when the rumors were circulating about, you know, the reasons for Yay being dropped and that kind of thing, and that's what we discussed there, at least as far as I can remember.
Yep.
So since then, like 10 days ago, so it's kind of old news at this point, but it bears talking about just a little bit here, that Jack at the end addressed some of the, you know, rumors floating around about the finances being weak for Cloud9, because people on the Cloud9 subreddit were really worried that the entire org was going down the pan because of the situation here in Valorant. And the quote is from Jack: "We're in a great place financially, and I aim to keep it that way by controlling costs in a time when sponsorships are tight. I'm planning for the long term." So, I mean, by going out and making that statement, already to some extent confirming the rumors that it was based on finances, not based on roles. So he's just besmirching Yay for no reason in terms of making that look like it was a role problem. And then saying that they had not managed their finances well in terms of anticipating what the situation would be like, because they fucking signed these players and committed to them for a year. You know, they didn't commit to them for the offseason and then, oh, we'll see how it goes at lock-in. Like, fuck off. These players were supposed to be locked in for the long term, and the finances have gone dramatically differently compared to what they had previously expected them to be. So this is, you know, just looking at the timeline, you can see that this was unexpected to some degree for C9, and I think that that's the biggest issue, because they've paid a lot of money to get rid of Yay and Vanity. They've paid a lot of money to get rid of them. That's fucking bonkers. They paid a buyout, and then they've paid a severance fee, presumably. So they've paid a lot of money to get rid of them. It's fucking bonkers. And also, no one's talking about the vanity side of things either, right? Everyone's talking about Yay and that side of things because he's the spicy player, he commands a big salary, stuff like that. Vanity too? Like, someone's got to dig into this shit, man. I'd love to see an actual, you know, like, investigative article written about what the hell is going on here. Because how on earth, I can understand if Yay has an extraordinary salary, needing to get that off the books because you've mismanaged your budgeting for the year. I understand that. It's still a mistake, but I understand how that would happen. I simply do not understand how that would also occur for Vanity. Was he being paid a similar amount, like, and Leaf and Zeppa weren't? Like, how does that situation occur? Did he just not want to stay there? There's something that doesn't make sense here about the vanity side.
This is just pure speculation, but I would imagine that is a higher up management decision. I think they would probably just looking at it like, well, we're replacing Yay for financial reasons. We might as well replace Vanity at the same time because he's been the IGL of the team for a while and we haven't had the success from an org standpoint that we've wanted with it. So fuck it, let's just get rid of him too and try and restructure with some upcoming guys. Because also, but when that news was coming out, I'm just seeing the other guys on the team tweet all the sad gifs.
Yeah.
Vanity's posting, like, you know, call him, like, I forget what the tweet is, maybe you can find it, Kurt, but something about like Zeppa and like a picture of him with Zeppa and Leaf and like you know, it was like brothers for life or something along those lines. Like those guys are clearly really tight, and they didn't want to depart with each other. So also, I mean, how does that leave? Yeah, I mean, Zeppa and Lee feeling on the team that I would presume it was the management that decided, hey, we're getting rid of this guy.
They saw
and
him laughing on stage after losing and decided to cut him.
I can't believe we didn't do an episode while that shit was going on in the fucking the Reddit gold mine, but holy, what a conspiracy theory that was. That one's one of my top 10 favorite moments in the Valorant community.
I missed it. Can you give me the conspiracy?
It was
Vanity
the conspiracy.
Is my favorite shit poster, by the way. Top 2, Brennan Hook and Vanity. Those are my 2 favorites.
The theory went that Ye was like leaving the team because he was upset at the rest of them for joking around when they were winning or when they were losing. Like he was too competitive and the rest of the team were too joking around, and that he wanted to leave. And like, I don't know. I think it was. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I'm not really buying into this conspiracy. I don't know.
It was prolific.
The jet fuel situation.
Are you in your casket?
I'm not buying this. That is I'm not buying this Reddit conspiracy.
No.
Mimi is just bed.
Move on. Next topic.
Okay, we'll move on to the next topic because Mimi commanded me to do so. Girl boss. All right, guys, Sentinels, yay. We get algorithm. Marved to Sentinels. Hooray. So they got a new 6-man, which is Marved, who's just been chilling and streaming. Wanted to take a little break after the Optic run. And I mean, this basically seems like in line with just kind of continuing to take a break, but getting a nice little paycheck while doing it, and probably just continuing to stream for Sentinels. Unless, here's my conspiracy theory. Y'all ready for this one? I don't even know if this is a conspiracy or if it's just, holy, that was a great eyebrow raise, Josh. I mean, you could really do the Rock sus face if you want. That's pretty good. That is pretty.
You say
pretty accurate.
Can you smell what the Rock's cooking, and then do that?
Well, the problem is I've never seen it myself. So what you're gonna get is a British man saying, "Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?"
Yes,
and it's not gonna be anything
now
like
say,
the
the
original.
people's elbow.
Jesus Christ. See, that's pretty close. You're doing a good job. Okay. But here's my conspiracy that's not a conspiracy, which is I saw a post from Noin. He was talking about how Pancata has been playing all Sentinel and ranked. Could they be preparing? Could they be preparing for Marv to step in on smokes if things go awry?
So
And cutting Def.
I
I
don't know.
mean, that's the only right. If Pancata switches to Sentinel and Marv comes to smokes, you're saying if things go awry, Def is gone.
no, I mean Def would move to Initiator and Zekken would go to full-time duelist, I guess. I don't know.
Are you cutting tens in that scenario?
Saucy IGL? I don't know. Guys, it's just a conspiracy. I don't know how everything would pan out. It's just I was throwing something out there.
Yeah.
You know, casting the line,
7 out of
seeing
10.
if
7 out of 10.
NT.
all right. It's better than that trash ass Vanity Reddit conspiracy, though. Give me that at least. It's definitely better than that conspiracy.
That was a -1.
I mean, it is kind of interesting, though, that Sentinels have made this move from like a business perspective, because most other teams are trying to scale back massively on that 6th person, right? They're putting an analyst in that spot. Other teams are getting rid of their 6th players and just trying to use staff members basically to pay them as little as possible. But instead, Sentinels are going with a player that presumably they would just have him on a streaming contract basically for this, right? Like there'll be some streaming obligations wrote into his contract, presumably, and they would be paying Marv more than $50K a year anyway, which is the minimum, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Like having a streamer that is a former pro, this is like Marv's the perfect 6th player. If he just wants to chill and just wants to stream, because this makes sense from the org's perspective. They don't have to pay anyone any extra money for that 6th slot. And he could step in if it was desperately required, much better than some of the other analysts around the scene could step in.
I wonder, will he have to move to LA for this? Are the 6 players required to live in
Yes.
Los Angeles? Okay, that's
Um,
interesting. If true, because
Yeah, I
that's
think the
another
6
ship. I think
players
part
are.
of the reason he wanted to take a break is because he
Let me pull
initially
up the
said
rules.
he wanted to stay in Toronto and didn't want to have to move to LA.
I know that
Documents.
Fnatic deliberately got their 6th player because they lived close to Berlin. That's what Mini was talking about. But I had thought the reason there is because they're going to travel on game days. And back out again. So maybe that's
VCT
what Marv would
23
do.
roster construction rules. I got you guys. I'm on the case. Investigative journalism.
At its finest, known as reading the rule book.
This is gonna take a while. I'm working on this for.
Okay, let's waffle.
Yeah.
Quick, somebody waffle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part to this is the like reason that that Sick isn't, the 6th player anymore is a bizarre situation, and I hope that Sentinels are actually able to help him there because he seems like he needs it. I don't know how well equipped an organization like Sentinels really is to be able to help a dude that's clearly going through something. Yeah, but I don't even really know where to finish this sentence. I don't even
That's
really
fine.
know what kind of sentiment I feel towards the situation. It's just bizarre, and I hope he gets some actual structured help from the org.
Yeah, I hope he gets help, and that's really all I can. All I'd like to say about it. I would say more, but I don't want to play pretend doctor. But
Yeah, exactly.
I would say I can relate to what he's. I
You can
can
pretend
relate
doctor,
to it
you're
a
a
bit.
real
I just
doctor.
hope he gets help, and that's really all there is to say. Paulo, have you investigated the journals?
Sorry, I'm scanning. Speed reading.
He's scanning still.
All right.
Why don't you control F?
Control what, Josh? Living.
Control F, just find.
Yeah, I know.
Find,
Control F. What? What should I search? Huh?
uh,
Residence? Because there's fucking a million residency requirements. Okay. Travel.
There must be rules around the 6th player, right? The substitute. I don't know.
Probably.
Nope. They're part of the minimum roster, so I don't fucking.
Oh,
Okay.
who knows?
Well,
or
well,
cares?
he
I'm scanning.
investigates. Let's just
Scanning.
say this is probably a good move for Sentinels. They get a 6th player who can chill on the bench, who is also a content creator. That seems like a pretty good money move for them. To have not only a good clout move, but also a legitimately good player to sub in if they ever do need to use their 6th player. I would say another pretty solid collection of good player and good clout for Sentinel. They seem to continue to do.
So, other 6-man situation while Bala is scanning. Something to Paper Rex. Something has been a pretty hot prospect for a minute. Russian player playing in the Japanese scene for a while. I can't remember. Someone put me onto something a long time ago. I think it was J Rush. J Rush will always sneak you a little DM about some crazy upcoming player somewhere. I remember he sent like the VLR page for a match like ages ago for this guy.
But
and
that's
he's
the
just
thing. It's so obvious because his VLR stats are just unbelievable. They're like they're actually unbelievable. It's kind of crazy. He's just straight up smurfing.
Bala, you look like you found something, perhaps.
I've completed my search.
Give
Investigative
us
report.
the info.
Headline is: team members are not actually required to live in the city. It's just that the teams must provide housing for team members to live in the city if they so desire, and negotiation should happen between teams and team members.
Oh, well, there you have it. Cool. What were you saying, though, Josh? You can go on. Talk about these stats and numbers, you goddamn dork.
I mean, all I was going to say is, most of the time when a player gets spotted, it's based on, watching the matches or maybe scanning through some stats pages or something. But if you look at any of this guy's games or you just look at his VLR page, it's patently obvious that this guy is pounding in his matches. He's plus 49 in this game with a 1.5 rating and 320 ACS. And just look at all time. Sorry, if you go back to it, just his all time. Oh yeah, plus 62 in this game. I mean, if you look at his all-time stats and you just look at like the ratings, the ACS, like whatever number you want to use here, there's clearly he is dominating a lot of his matches, and it deserves further investigation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I know I mentioned it before previously when we were talking about Paper X. I think they need to make moves if they want to succeed in APAC. If I'm Paper X management, I'm worried about them not making it to Masters, not Tokyo and Champions. I mean, I think they're right on the cusp of not making it with this roster. As is often the trend, the teams that are not making moves heading into this franchise league, when other teams are, they're going to fall behind. And I think Paper X were already, beginning to show signs of struggle in late last year. And obviously, they just go out immediately at lock-in. It was not a great showing, despite it just being one map. Sure, I think it was just a part of kind of a trend that we were starting to see. Their style becoming really apparent to teams that are playing against them. And I think they needed a shift. And I also think, I know a lot of people are questioning if he's going to replace Jing and how good Jing has been in the past. But honestly, I think the obvious choice for upgrades, you'd probably be looking at some of their more supportive role players. I am intrigued by the prospect of them inserting a new duelist into the team instead of Jing that has a different tempo of play, that might not be interested in double satcheling into a Sent B 12 rounds in a row on attack. Like someone who wants to play at a bit of a different pace.
But that's how Forsaken always played before as well. That's the team. I don't think that's necessarily... I mean, Jing's a fucking maniac for sure, but I think there's a couple of things there. I don't think the Jing situation is because people really want to see him gone. It's because I think he's about to come of age where he has to do his military service in Singapore.
Right.
So it's more of a obligation that they're. I mean, I don't even know how
Can't they
it
just
could
buy out
sneak
his
up on a
military
team.
contract and keep him on the team?
I don't know how this kind of stuff works. In Korea, you can delay it for many years, like many years. But I really just am completely ignorant as to how it works in Singapore. But that was what the people were telling me. But if that is the case, I don't think it's going to improve the team. I think they're still going to play the same way that they've always played. I don't think you're going to see more, structured play out of a player that's just been smurfing in Japan and is now just thrown into the big stage. Like he's going to have less of a read on the game, surely, than somebody like Jing does in terms of timing his aggression.
Yeah, to me, this team needs like a shift in identity, because like for the last 50 events, it feels like their identity has been, we're going to try something new, we're going to pick up the pace, we're going to try and like have some weird innovative things, and they missed the mark on that at lock-in. And I think going into the future of this game, from what we've seen from the other Pacific teams really stepping up, Paper X is not going to be able to play that style anymore. And I don't really think picking up this guy is going to add those new ideas into the team. I was hoping their offseason move was going to be picking up maybe a different IGL or a different supportive member to maybe replace Devi, who can add more ideas to the team that can help to start to shift that that style of play, or even get rid of Jing or Forsaken, one of those two players, and get someone else in to try and maybe get more in line with the way that other teams are playing. And don't get me wrong, I think it's good to kind of scout this young talent to see the opportunity. I doubt something is an exceptionally expensive player, and having him on your roster is not a bad thing, especially if what you're saying about military service is true. But the future of this team, to me, feels reliant on them, I guess, kind of getting with the times and finding their place in this meta instead of trying to go back to what has worked for them in the past. And this feels like, even if he does make the main roster, continuing in the same direction this team has found themselves on for quite a while.
I think the roster has got to be the place where you begin, though. In a world where they keep Jing, I would love to see Forsaken make a swap to being a initiator player. I'd like to see him really change his role up to the point where he's being more supportive. And so, because every time that they have these comps, they always have Jing and Forsaken right there with each other, right there, always hyper aggressive. And it doesn't matter what fucking comp they're playing. It's either Jet Sage, or it's Ray's Chamber, or it's, something. It's double duelist. But it's always the same look, and you're hard limited when you're the two people that frag on that team don't play other roles, right? It's not like other teams where you can move people around and shift things. They're very limited. And I think that they should have been putting in the work over the offseason to do that. And the comps that they came out with at lock-in demonstrated that they're still doing the same shit. I mean, on Lotus, Jing's on Raze, Forsaken's on Chamber. Okay, I can accept that on that map, but show me something different. Then Pearl, it's Forsaken on Jet and Jing on Sage. It's just the same stuff. They need to have more flexibility in the roster, and they need to add more firepower in to replace somebody else in the roster too, if they want to get back up to getting to podiums.
I was actually going to suggest similar to what you just said, Josh, but I was thinking having Jing playing the initiator instead, though I suppose, you know, maybe Forsaken doing that achieves a similar thing. But I was just kind of thinking about that in a similar fashion to how Asuna was kind of playing initiator with Will, and just how aggressive he was, and how he was always able to be in with Will on, like, you know, KO, whatever it was usually KO. And something similar with Jing possibly as well. Or even if they want Jing or Forsaken to play a bit of a more setup initiator, play the, you know, playing breach, whatever, something that's not as aggressive, and you still have kind of, you know, you still have something, and Forsaken is that kind of two-man fast hitting in the sight team. I think oftentimes when you're watching the rounds, what they really need is someone in, not someone, it's, Jesus Christ, it's so similar to his name, but I think they need people to close out the rounds more effectively. I think that's one of the things that they really struggle with. They're good at bursting into the site. They're good at taking the site, but I think post plants is a lot of times where they struggle. I think oftentimes Mind Freak's kind of like flank timings on the smokes become a bit predictable. I think Tavai doesn't offer enough firepower in that situation. And if you have someone like Jing, who's extremely talented in those late round situations, I think that could be very beneficial to them. I think those are the situations where they often lose the rounds.
They're also in a great position because they can pick up a bunch of other talent, right? It's not like they are a full team from one country speaking a very specific language. Like, the demonstration of bringing something into the team and the ability that they have to be able to communicate with people all around the world is a massive advantage in terms of picking up other talent. They're not limited to a tiny pool. So I'd like to see them actually use that.
Yeah, 100%.
I think all the suggestions you guys are giving are good, like fine. But also, I think you guys are overstating how poor their performance at lock-in was. They're still going to qualify out of Pacific. Come on now. Let's be real. Let's be real for a second here.
They're going to make top 3 Pacific?
Yes, they are. It's still Jing and Forsaken. They still looked relatively good with what they were doing against Cloud9. Cloud9 just had a very good read on how to play against them, and I do not expect the Pacific teams to have the same level of good read against them, especially some of these SEA teams who they've been stomping forever. They've been rolling Talon. They've been rolling fucking Secret. Like, it hasn't necessarily even been close last year. And so, like, I honestly think there's probably like a mind block for some of those teams playing up against them, and they're going to roll the lower tier teams too. So
my concern is with them being on the edge. I think they very well could make it just on the merit of what they've already got. I think that's very realistic, but I think they're going to be on the edge of not making it, and I don't think that's Paper Rec's standard of how good they can be. And that also, if that is the case, I don't think they're going to perform well at the actual Masters events if they make it. I mean, you know, they are a team that have shown they can make deep runs, and it would be disappointing if they make it. And, you know, they're the team on the cusp, they make it to Masters Tokyo, and then they just flop over. I mean, that would be very disappointing. I want to see them do well, you know. But
I mean, I also think that the way that they, I don't know, I think that they are going to be somewhere around that third place spot. But I think there's some teams here that can trip them up. Like I think they can even lose games to like Zeta, Gen.G. Obviously, DRX look like they've just got their number. I think there's a risk there, and it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, definitely. How many slots are there again for
Three.
APAC? Three. Yeah, I mean that's
And 5 make it out of play, make it into like playoffs or whatever. So,
right. I
or
mean,
6, sorry.
you just mentioned them, Josh. And maybe do you have something to say?
I mean, I was just going to say, I agree. I think they'll make it. But I think the expectation for Paper X after last year is that they are a team that can compete, actually find good placements at international events. And I think this direction that they're heading in still isn't giving me confidence that they'll be able to return to that level, which I guess is my worry more than their regional. I think they'll still always be a team. Well, at
You guys
home.
think they have no chance of winning Pacific? That's the thing.
I don't
that
think
I'm-
they beat DRX.
I think 100%
Yeah.
they have a chance to win Pacific.
I don't
With-
think that I just don't see a way that they get past DRX. Like I think that the stylistic matchup is poor for them, and they have looked like they're trending in opposite directions, those teams. So I mean, there's a chance if they get there, but how big is the chance?
I
It's
think
pretty small. I think.
Trending in opposite directions, but I also don't really trust as not that DRX's performance of lock-in was bad, but just like some of the stuff, like are they replacing Zest now? Are they going to be putting Foxy9 in? Is like it doesn't seem like they're super confident in what they're putting in forward. I think 100% with what turmoil there might be right now in Pacific with DRX, especially as the season continues. Paper X has a good chance to win Pacific.
I mean, if DRX does something like they sub in Foxy9, things start falling apart, yeah, maybe there's a chance. But I think if DRX continues in the trajectory they're heading in right now, PaperX, I feel like in recent history has been a team that has struggled to adapt to teams that are more structured. Like they had a time like back last year where they were able to run over teams, even like DRX at times. But I think that what DRX showed at lock-in, like even like being able to like shut down like the loud double duelist comps and being able to play against those like faster teams and do very well against them. I think DRX is still like very, very, very clear favorite in that matchup, like Josh was saying. And I think if PaperX is allowed to do that, that would not only take a big like shift for PaperX to vastly improve from what we've seen recently, but also for DRX to do some major trolling.
Yeah, I'm buying in heavy to DRX in this one. I think we're about to see some Vision Strikers 2020 shit in this APAC run. I think they're just gonna smoke everyone. That is where I stand. But we can move on to Gen.G. You mentioned them earlier, Josh, as one of the teams that could be in contention. I think there's a reasonable amount of increased hype around Gen.G because they looked pretty good at lock-in, despite only playing one game. In that one game, I think they did overperform expectations a bit. The subtitle here being Gen.G Pull a Cloud9, but just without yay. So despite a bit of that hype and excitement around the squad and a pretty decent performance against Loud, finalist, winner of that whole was this the alpha bracket? It was the alpha bracket. Winner of the whole alpha bracket. Did they need to make moves? Do these moves make sense? Why? Why did this happen?
I think I was always a bit confused by, not confused, but uninspired by Secret and Eco on the team to begin with. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't hugely buying into this Gen.G roster. But what we saw at lock-in was more so that TS looked really good and was calling pretty well. King looked phenomenal, and I think Meteor, you always know, is going to have the ability to hang with some of these teams. He just needs a bit more time, perhaps, and he calmed down a bit of his overheating stuff too. So I think this is much more based off scrims than anything that we saw at lock-in. I think probably they just weren't happy with the direction of what was occurring. It's not like they say in the announcement that Secret has somewhere else to go or has some reason for leaving. So I've got to expect that they're just looking for an upgrade or a shift in style there.
Yeah, also quickly, just for the audio listeners, I forgot to say it, but the additions to the team are Sylvan and Goddead. That is who they're bringing in. Balla, what are you feeling about this?
I don't know if both are going to be playing, given that Sylvan's the only guy who's been let go, or not Sylvan, sorry. That Secret's the only guy who's been let go so far. But GodDead used to be a really good initiator for F4Q way back in the day. I haven't really been keeping track of what he's been doing in last year, but Sylvan I don't
He
know
hasn't
much
played
about.
since August, and Sylvan hasn't played since June.
Which is the end of the tier 2 or the
Yeah, I
the
suppose.
circuit
Yeah.
in those.
It
So
feels
it's-
like so long ago, though.
It does. GodDead is a content creator, so like during the off season, you just be like sitting there not doing anything, just streaming and making content. Whereas Sylvan is a little less, or a little bit more concerning that he's not playing. But honestly, I think that both could end up being upgrades over both Echo and Secrets if that's the direction they're going to go. If Echo is actually the one getting switched out, which we don't really know. I think we know for sure Secret's going to be going. What I saw from Secret in the Gen.G game, or in the Loud game, I've recently rewatched that, was good executes, but just low firepower. Like he was always hitting what he needs to be hitting in terms of the utility and setting up Meteor and setting up, King. And I thought that was enough to keep him, but maybe if you just go for somebody who can do the same thing, which is relatively easy to find the timings and whatnot, and have better firepower, maybe you're just getting a raw upgrade. Maybe that's what GodDead is going to bring. Or
I think that's probably what he's bringing. Like he's stronger as an individual. He's quite flexible in the agent pool. Can play pretty much the same agents that were being played before. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
You're doing well. But yeah, he played with the core of this team before when TS and Echo were playing on Slayers. He was with them there. So I think it's a pretty simple transfer over. That does just feel like a straight up upgrade for me. I don't think that we'll see the other player that was signed subbing in, just because TS as a controller player, I feel like looked really fantastic at lock-in and is a pretty important piece of this team. So I'd expect him to just be a straight up 6-man. But for GodDead coming into this team, that feels like a good.
TS has played initiator stuff in the past as well, but I actually really like him on smokes. I think that's going to be his best role. When you mention it there, though, Mimi, this is really similar to that on Slayers roster now. This is, assuming GodDead would be coming in, which we don't know that. It could be Sylvan, but that would be 3 out of 5 of the players that they were running with that on Slayers squad that it looked like it was going to be great on paper, and then it never materialized. I'm a bit concerned that the excitement around Gen.G is premature because it's really only based on 2 maps, of which they both lost. I hope that they're going to be good. I wasn't inspired by the roster and wasn't really confident in their performance, but I did love what I saw from King, especially. And I think just historically, King's been a great Sentinel player, right? Like the whole time he was on DRX, he was making smart decisions. He was a good player in a great spot. He just, I guess, didn't have the flexibility that they needed to play a bunch of different stuff. So they ended up replacing him for another Jet main, as is the DRX way. I don't know whether to buy into Gen.G this early, though. I think you have to wait and see a couple of their matches first. I don't know what their schedule looks like, though.
I do not know.
They play
RRQ and Detonation.
I mean, a pretty easy start.
Yeah.
If they don't get off to a 2-0, then there's something horrendously wrong. And then they play against Team Secret, and that'll give us a decent idea of whether, our read on them was a bit too early.
Yeah. They could definitely go off to a strong start. Their first 4 games, RRQ, Detonation, Team Secret, and then T1. Then they play DRX. But they've got a real shot at going 4-0. It's not unreasonable. Obviously, Secret and T1 being the tougher matchups, but still, I think they got a good shot at going 4-0, which puts them in prime position to actually make it to Masters Tokyo. All right. We're going to go into a bit of our history. We're going to look at our NA Challengers power rankings that we did.
Oh, God. No, let's not do this.
Now, how did we do
fine. They're fine.
with these power rankings?
They're fine.
Let's
I
find
remember
out.
being very happy about these at the time.
They're fine.
You remember
We're
being
always
happy
happy
about
about
them?
I
always
swear,
happy. I just love
over
them.
half the time, we're like, these rankings, I think we might have done a good job here, guys. And then it's just totally fucked. So on the rankings, we had the guard number 1, M80 number 2, and then Pepe Laugh. We had Shopify number 3, which I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that wasn't totally unreasonable. Though I thought they should have I definitely thought they should have been in 11th place. I knew they wouldn't qualify. TSM 4th, G2 5th, FaZe 6th, Disguise 7th, the Moist Moguls in 8th, ORE at 9, Oxygen 10, and then Turtle Troop Mad Lions in dead last. Now, I'm going to pull up the actual rankings here. I should have had these up earlier, but I didn't. So I am getting them up on my phone right now. Okay, now, I've got them up. Could I see the ranking again, Kurt? If you can pull that back up, because I already forgot that one too. All right. We had the Guard and M80, number 1 and 2. All right, both of them 4-1 in their group. Both of the teams looking very good.
Yeah.
Totally reasonable. Shopify, okay.
They let us down. They let us down.
Everyone's going to go, they overrated Shopify. Let's be fucking real. No one thought they were going to be dead last in their group behind the Turtle Troop. Everyone. Yeah. Okay. That disappointing result for Shopify. I think the only thing I'm still feeling positive about is like B-Dog, still very good. He can play a bunch of roles and he's really good on them. Moose still showing off some great moments, but disappointing. I was hoping for much better from the Rebellion. TSM we had in 4th, kind of off the back a bit of, having a decent performance in the Ludwig Tarek Invitational.
To me, the TSM one is actually one of the most interesting ones, honestly, because I thought that we were overrating them based on the Ludwig Tarek stuff and wanted them to be significantly lower, but also the roster change that they made and the way that they have just been able to turn that around is bizarre to me. Bizarre. I haven't been keeping a steady track on what's been going on in challenges. I've been taking a break from it, but there were a lot of people really questioning what the hell Eng was smoking, right, with this change. And it does seem to be paying off based on the results. I thought that they would struggle to actually live up to this 4th place spot, but it seems like we've pegged them fairly well.
Yeah, 4-1 as well in their group. They've done a solid job. So, yeah, guys, we did okay. G2 in 5th, they topped that first group at a 4-1 record, and they had some really good games. I mean, they had the one beef game, but other than that, they looked pretty damn strong. Probably should have been up there instead of Shopify. I mean, of course, whatever.
But I think G2 had like the variability, I think, with this team.
Yeah, we had no clue. We had no clue.
Yeah. I
Oxy
think
it was like Oxy was an unknown. We didn't really know exactly how the roles were going to pan out at the beginning. We just were going off of Dapper, Shazam, Penny, Whippy,
and
like,
Amy
all
as
having
well.
experience.
Actually, as well.
Like, so I'd say like we ranked them fairly good, and actually, like if you go with the night seeding in the playoffs, it's actually perfectly accurate. So,
holy shit,
playoff seeding
guys,
is
we're pretty
good.
We actually do. We really are doing okay. This is shocking. This is a big surprise. I'm not gonna lie. FaZe in 6th again. Not bad. They finished. They were in the 4th spot qualifying in their group at 2 and 3. I remember when we were initially talking about them here, a lot of the worry was like, what the hell is the org doing?
Yeah.
Signing Rossi just before, or was it the day of they announced
it? Like an hour before their match.
Yeah, he only practiced like a couple days with them. Really strange offseason. Also heading into it with the chamber nerfs and so much of their success feeling like it came off the back of just enabling Dicey and Baby Bay. One of them was just like dropping a 30 bomb every single game they were playing. And then having to move away from that seems like it's certainly affected them and been a bit of the downwards trend there.
But I mean, they're still placed a tad high here, no? For what they've actually done. Like, I mean, we're going to get to some teams that we've underrated a little bit, but they probably should have slipped down the rankings a little further even.
Yeah, their technical placement their actual rank was 7th. So not
Yeah, if you get rid of Shopify, I mean,
Yeah, but
Not
they're also
crazy.
in the weaker group, right? And I feel like some of
Yeah.
the teams that had similar performances in the other group would probably end up being better than them, but we'll have to see come MSI.
this is why it's impossible to rank out of groups, by the way.
Yeah.
Then we had Disguised in 7th. Their actual rank was 8th.
Yeah,
Disguised,
but
yeah,
I mean, again, they are in a
variability.
really tough group. They're in a tough group, and I feel like they've performed fairly well. But the reason that they rank lower is just based on their like fucking round differential or something, isn't it? It's because they're at like negative whatever.
Yeah.
So considering they're playing against the two best teams, that's not so bad. I feel like they've actually lived up to the hype that people had around them coming into coming out of the qualifiers and having this like feel of the team and could they do something good here. I think that they've really lived up to that kind of storyline despite going 2 and 3.
Yeah, I would agree. And then after that, we had the Moist Moguls, who ended up performing pretty well in the first group. And I don't know, you could suppose some people may chalk that up to that group not necessarily being as strong as the one with Guard, TSM, M80. But they still do make it through in second place. 3 and 2, their actual like total ranking was 6th. And then after that, the teams we didn't have qualifying at the bottom were ORE, Oxygen, Turtle Troop, and Mad Lions. 3 of those were on the money, though I'm not going to give us too much credit for that. I don't think it was really a remarkable prediction. Mad Lions and ORE will struggle in the group with the Guard, M80, and TSM.
Yeah.
Well done, everybody. We're really intelligent. But the one that was more of the surprise, obviously, was Oxygen. They were able to make it through. Also 3 and 2. They had the round differential was +4. Moist Moguls were +5, so they're ranked ahead of them. But still, really solid stuff from Oxygen in their little run. They got the W over FaZe, W over Shopify, Turtle Troop. That Turtle Troop game was pretty close. But yeah, solid from them. So honestly, not really anything that surprising in these groups, though. Were you guys really
Oxygen,
surprised
I think,
by much?
right? Like I
Outside
feel
of
like
Oxygen? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the teams that we were looking at to do something were Disguised, Breakthrough, and maybe one of the other teams, but I think most of the excitement from Bala, if I remember, was around OR more so than the other teams that were down there. So the fact that it was Oxygen that ended up breaking through, I think that's a really cool thing to keep track of during the playoffs. I mean, Scuba continues to deliver, and I've got one person in my Twitch chat who loves fucking talking about Randy Savage, so they'll be happy.
Scuba is the truth. Everyone wanted this man. He finally got free. Oxygen got him. He's still good. I think like the teams that impress the most are Oxygen, TSM post move, and I guess Moist Moguls, but like I don't know. That whole group is weird. I hate random group seating. It's just, I don't know. It makes for such weird formats sometimes. But
Also,
yeah,
what the fuck is this bracket?
it's so weird.
Do we want to move on to
we
the
just look at the
bracket here
bracket?
and do our NA Challengers playoff pick'ems?
Can we
Is it
complain
time?
about the bracket first
Yeah, I
and then
think-
do our pick'ems?
Okay, let's complain. Can we pull it up?
Yes.
I'm ready to whine.
Guys, you could do the pick'ems. I'm looking at Counter-Strike 2. It's out. It's coming. Oh shit.
Holy
Sorry.
shit.
Okay. thank
Breaking
you.
news: Valorant it's dead.
It's
We don't even need to do these pick'ems. The game is
Now Plat chat.
it's over.
If we
Yes.
want to talk about
Two.
CS2 later, the video they posted is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, let's go
Might as
through all the rest of our little topics here, and yeah, then we're gonna go ahead and we'll talk about Counter-Strike 2. When are they gonna make TF3?
Why
You guys?
are the teams playing the teams from their same group? Why is it not flipped? Why does M80 not play FaZe and G2 Disguised? Why do we keep playing within the same?
Are you actually genuinely asking, or
No, I don't like it.
okay? Because the way that it works is fucking they seeded the teams overall from both groups, and seeded them against each other. So like
That just like that like doesn't
makes
work.
no
That
sense.
doesn't make
I've
sense. Like,
never
you-
seen that. I
you-
don't know
the-
where
Yeah, I've
they
never
pulled
seen
that
that.
out of.
The
I
one
don't know
seed from Group
why.
B should play the 4 seed from Group A, and you do that for everything else, and boom, you have a bracket, and everything just works. This format, trolling.
Yeah. I mean, there are some cross-group games. But-
You can't compare the round differential across 2 different groups, man.
I also think it's especially egregious when the groups themselves were not seeded well to begin with, right? Like, if I'm annoyed by any seeding system that is so hands-off that it fucks itself up. Do you know what I mean? Like, people try to not seed things manually because it introduces biases, right? But this is quite shit. And so you do often get situations like this. You get situations like this when you have like algorithmic seeding, like we used to have. I don't know whether we still have them actually for like the Masters events and stuff, where it's like, you know, NAA goes with NA whatever. I can't remember how
Yeah,
the
we
fuck
still
it
have
worked.
that for international.
Well, I don't think we will. Well, maybe
I mean,
we do.
for
Yeah.
the most recent,
Yeah, we 100%.
before lock-in. I don't fucking
Yeah.
know. Anyway, continue.
But I don't know whether we have it continuing into the future. I don't fucking know. I'm tapped out of that at the moment. But you could make much better seeding just by having somebody make a couple of tweaks manually afterwards. And I know that that's perhaps too much power to put into somebody's hand, but my God, it's annoying when you get groups like this and brackets like this. But the bracket is still going to be fun, right? Like, actually, the deeper you get in the bracket, it's going to be sick. And the fact that it's double elimination does make up for some of the shitty first round matches and stuff, because things are going to get mixed around a bit. I feel bad though for Disguised Toast. I mean, just stuck in the fucking group of death with M80 and the guard. Oh, it'll be better once we get to playoffs though, guys. Oh, first round M80. It's just fucking brutal.
It really is. All right. Do you want to get into the pick'ems? I feel like there's not much more to
Sure.
say about the bracket. Weird. Let's pick these teams. M80 versus Disguise. Guys, I'm going with M80. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Next, TSM versus the Moist Moguls. I got to go with TSM here.
Yeah.
I'm impressed as well at how. I mean, I wasn't not sold, but I also wasn't sold on the bringing in Kanpeki. It was just kind of seemed. It was just odd, I suppose, in a way, and that's not a commentary on Kanpeki's skill. It was just kind of out of nowhere and just an interesting pickup, but it worked. I mean, they immediately beat the guard and won 3 games in a row to close out the group. So listen, I'm bought in. You got me. I'm sold. So I'm gonna go TSM here. Any dissenters?
No, I agree. I
Anyone
agree.
getting moist? All right.
Almost, but no.
The guard
I was
versus
getting moist looking at
FaZe.
CS2.
I mean, again, easy guard here.
Yeah, God. And then I think it's G2 as well for the final one, right? Because
Always
they,
high
I mean,
seed.
No, I'm going Oxygen, but I'm the
Oh,
only
are you?
person going Oxygen.
I mean,
Yeah,
we've seen this matchup before, and G2 dumpstered Oxygen. Again, there was
Yeah.
one close match with the first map. I forget which one it was, but it was just like they could not adapt. And everyone on G2 is just better.
I just hate Clout, honestly. So
Okay. Good for you.
Man. Real.
I mean, I'm just going with the guard and M80 in the upper semis as well. Do you think there's a chance that TSM win this game?
yeah, Aang is on the team.
God, you are such a simp.
Bola is a simp, but also I think there's a good possibility. I mean, if they're capable of beating the guard 2-0, they are also capable of beating M80. But still favor M80, but not by
M80 looked like the best team
Yes.
easily.
M80 looked like the best team easily.
They looked like the best team easily throughout the entire season. Like they just looked. They looked like that. It looked like I was watching Tier 1 Valorant for them for every single game that I watched of them. And the rest of the teams, I did not feel that way, and I felt like spaghetti. But
I mean, are you just kind of assuming that they didn't really give a shit about the final game against the guard?
yeah, no, I didn't watch that game.
Yeah, they
It
got
was-
like
not
it was
3
real
attacking
trash.
rounds or something.
3
But-
attacking
but-
rounds. Oh
But
fuck.
yeah, and like the whole game. But also they really didn't have any incentive to perform because they'd already got the like #1 spot.
Oh
even if
yeah,
they
yeah, it was
threw the
locked up.
game.
That's why I didn't watch
So,
the game. It was locked up.
Yeah, it's not like particularly relevant, I suppose, but I don't know.
I'm still going to go with M80, but I think TSM have a pretty good shot. All right, guard G2. Are
I'm
we,
going with the
Whoa.
guard.
are we
So let me just
standing
pick the guard
guard?
here.
We all went
Yeah.
silent.
I know.
So let
Oh.
me just pick the guard here.
Crickets.
You want to flip a coin? Why are you with G2
No.
for me?
I might be with G.
Really? Okay.
I might be with G2 on this. But if the majority is going with the guard, I believe in democracy.
Sure.
I mean, the guard look very good. They beat M80. Obviously, M80 didn't have incentive to play. They actually looked pretty good in that game. Guard has looked pretty good throughout this whole season. They had the one like troll game that they lost early on, but besides that,
But then they improved immediately after the troll
they
game, too.
immediately fixed it and looked fantastic throughout the whole season. I think that while G2 has looked solid, I think the level of competition that Guard has been playing throughout this split gives me more confidence in Guard going into this.
I believe in the guard.
All right, we can roll the guard. That is fine with me. All right, lower bracket. Lower bracket. We have Disguised versus the Moist Moguls.
This
is
lower
the
bracket is
real-
where the fun stuff actually
Yeah,
happens.
I mean, that game, fuck knows. I mean, I have no... I don't really have a strong feeling in either
Which
direction on this
streamers
one.
do you like better? We should decide it based off which streamers we enjoy more. Disguised Toast or...
No, Moist Moguls is running.
Wait, Ludwig
Yeah.
has given
I love
three of us
Ludwig.
money. We should go with Moist
I mean,
Moguls.
yeah, Ludwig did pay all of you guys. So are you going to shill? A bunch of shills on the show.
No.
No, but pick Moist, but no.
All right. Picking Moist Moguls because capitalism. FaZe Clan versus Oxygen.
OXG.
I
Oh,
think
yeah,
I
I'm going-
win that one.
I'm going
Bonker.
Oxygen.
Bonker.
Yeah, true. They do have Bonker. Going Oxygen. All
can
right,
they
still in the
lose
lower
on that
bracket.
one?
I
G2
forgot
versus
Bongar
Moist
is
Moguls.
the coach of that team?
Yeah.
Wait, I forgot about that. That's crazy. That is crazy. I forgot that happened. Also, Scuba is the best player in the world. So, yeah.
G2
All right,
versus
so
Moist. How much did that money mean to you guys?
not enough.
Not enough, G2.
Not enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm going G2. This bracket, we're making it basic as hell, and there's going to be some crazy shit going on. G2 are beating guard upper bracket. M80 are losing to Disguise. There's going to be some crazy shit going on.
I think
We're
there's
making-
going to be some crazy shit, but it's going to end in a similar fashion. You know what I mean? Like the upper final
Yeah,
is still going to be the
could
upper
be.
final, even if Oxygen upsets G2 or something early on and it messes up the lower.
Wait, when did G2 play Mogul Moves? They did play them, right? Or I'm not seeing the score. Oh, they were called Breakthrough back then. It was 2-1. Okay. Yeah, I'll go with G2 because it's the scoreboard, Steven.
TSM versus Oxygen. I'm going with TSM here. They've been on a run. They've been on a nice little run. Some solid wins. Specifically the guard win. All right, let's go to the upper final. M80 versus the guard. Ball, you said that M80 looked like a tier 1 team and the best team throughout the whole thing.
They also
Screw the
don't lose
last
to the guard
seeding game.
twice.
Doesn't matter. Wasn't even a seeding game. They were destined to be first.
I mean, this is still a sitting game here too. So
Yeah, so they lose this one and come back and win the grand finals. That's the real narrative you need to be pushing.
Grand Finals is also a sitting game.
Damn, that's
I mean,
crazy.
this is a seeding invitational.
It's a seating invitational.
Oh,
What do you
are
want?
we really back to this?
It's a
Yes.
seating game.
God.
The entire
we go.
bracket is a seating game.
Is it
Because
really
the-
just seeding?
Because the organizers didn't know how to seed, so we got to make sure that they know how to seed.
Ain't no way. I didn't know that. I haven't
Yeah, it's
scoured
for
the
like a
rules.
little bit extra points for making it to the Ascension tournament. Top 3 go to Ascension, and yeah.
What is
Yeah.
the points breakdown? I mean, I
No
thought they
clue.
were playing for something reasonable here, honestly, because I haven't been keeping a good eye on it. But how does it break down?
VCT Challenger.
That sounds too complicated.
2023.
What if we just did
I'm opening the rules.
No,
All
it
right,
says
Balla,
here, it says
scan
on
the rules.
VLR, it says they get 10 points for being in first,
What does
6
that
points
mean?
for being in second. What do you mean? What does that mean?
10 point? Like, how many points do you need? More than
Okay,
everyone
if
else?
you placed first in the split 1, you got 20 points.
And as long as you make playoffs for split 2, you'll get 27 points, which is basically a clinch if you win.
So it's way more important to play well in the regular season than it is in the MSI.
Yes.
Correct.
Bruh. Anyway, what? But
What an
I mean,
insane way of designing this.
what?
And also, I didn't even realize, but it's stupider than I thought because the way that they've built out that, you know how they combined the groups together to make that huge, like, 12-team thing? That's how they're allocating points. That's why they've done that.
Why they
That's why they've done that. Why didn't they do it based on the MSI
MSI be the
results?
thing for points?
I don't know.
Which is exactly how all the other point systems work, by the way.
That's
Dude, that
so
is
cool.
ludicrous. The more now that I understand it, that's even stupider.
I mean, yeah. Oh, jeez.
It was only my own ignorance disguising their ignorance. It's unreal.
Nice. I told you they're seeding games.
Maybe
I-
needs the seed.
I was
They win this
unaware,
one.
and now that I'm aware, I just feel like aware. You know what I mean? Just, it's crazy. All right, M80 versus the guard for a match. Who fucking cares? M80. G2 TSM. Who gives a shit?
We should have lived in our blissful ignorance. We should have lived assuming that they were playing for huge amounts of fat stacks.
Yeah, 500k prize pool. Wow. All right.
Wait, is there a prize pool?
Yeah, there is. Well, yeah, if you scroll down on the page.
Wait, it's
Oh,
80K.
sorry, no, this
it's
is the
80K all the
Pick'ems
way at the
page.
top. Wait, but oh, the price
Now,
was
the mid-season itself has 11,000 first place, 6,000 second place. So if you get second place, you all get a grand.
So it's a Mickey Mouse tournament.
yes.
Yeah. But it's tier 2. I mean, that is tier 2.
I mean, yes, it is
No, but
tier 2, but it's more of the system in totality. I'm not really concerned with prize money. I don't think anyone really is at this point in esports, right?
Yeah.
I care a lot. I'm from
Dude,
Fortnite.
what you care a lot? Is
Earnings
it
check. Earnings check.
2011?
Why never earned
check.
anything? Earnings check.
2011 Dota 2
Box like a
international
Box like a
CNN Anderson Cooper bullshit
What the
talking
fuck
about the
is box
prize
like
pool.
a fish?
Box like a fish.
What
Dude,
is
you don't know
box
Fortnite?
like a fish?
It's like the flopper from Fortnite. Your
If
box
you
like,
got
like you're in
into a
box.
build fight with me, I would box you like a fish and one pump you.
But why would you be boxing fish? That's not how you transport
Fish are inherently boxed. The ocean is a giant fucking Fortnite box that they all live in. Like,
No, it's a cup.
it's a cup.
How to box like a fish?
Box.
That was past
I'll
my
snap like a turtle.
That
What
was
does that mean? Why are we
How to
not
eat like
incorporating
Aladdin.
these into Valorant?
I don't know. This was past my time. I don't even know what Ball is talking about. This is some crazy.
How to farm
Fortnite
like
activity.
McDonald.
All right, we're moving on. All right. And then did we do the we did the bracket that doesn't mean anything. The bracket that doesn't matter. I'm pissed. All right. Next. Oh, this is dude. What's up with what's the deal with EMEA VRL?
There's the EMEA VRL.
Yeah, I mean, you get
What a great use of the soundboard.
well, we got some use out of that one.
You're ironic. I love it.
I mean, what is up with it? I'm sure you guys have been watching all the games and really
Yep.
keeping track of Polaris or whatever.
I mean, I
What's
have
going
been
on?
looking at the results a little bit. There's like 2 interesting teams to take a look at, as far as I can really pass through. But the problem is that all of these teams are spread throughout like 90 different leagues, and there aren't that many easy VODs to take a look at. How many leagues are there? How many
9.
VRLs are there?
9.
9 leagues. Splitting the viewership, splitting the player base up, and stuff like that. It's cool on one hand that there are so many teams that compete.
And there's not even a
But-
CIS league because it got canceled. So 10.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of cool that there's so many, leagues happening in terms of like so many teams get an opportunity to actually compete and be involved in the system. But in terms of the actual like branding of it and anyone keeping track of what the fuck is going on or watching the games, I mean, it's in the bin.
Yep. Like,
But Yeah, sorry. The two teams that are kind of popping off, at least from what I can tell, are Ascend, who've
They won East.
they won the East Surge, yeah, and they look pretty good. I mean, they got Batty G, they got Monster on the team as well. You know, some good players. And then the other team, I can't even remember the fucking name of it, but it's the one that Enzo's playing in with Apex. Yeah.
Legend.
That recently beat Focus, who've been, you know, they've been in the EMEA like tier 1.5, tier 2, top of that for a while. Played at Red Bull, right? I think.
Yes.
And yeah, they've got some good players on the team, and Apex just kind of dismantled them with players that people recognize, like Mystic, Enzo, Shadow, Magnum. Like, these players are, I guess the offcuts of tier 1 would be an impolite but accurate way of describing them, I think. But those players are still really fucking good. Like, Magnum is still a really good player. Enzo should be on a tier 1 team right now. And don't even get me started on that because I've declared war. And no one's watching these fucking games. And I think they've even canceled the broadcast or cut down the broadcast massively for the league that Apex just won. The league that Magnum and Enzo and stuff, like, they're not even broadcasting all of those games.
The group stages.
Yeah. So
yeah.
If a team beats another team in a forest but nobody hears it, did it even happen? Also, why are they playing in a forest?
All great questions.
But
Josh, I do.
think-
No,
Go
go
ahead,
on,
Mike.
Mimi.
I was just gonna say, like, it's just sad because, as you can see, there's a lot of talent in these like EMEA VRLs, but because it's so fragmented, it's just like impossible to know unless you're like God's gift to watching VRLs. And you contrast that to NA, and like think about what a ridiculous amount of attention like the North American scene has been getting in the Challengers League. You have like big content creators watching it. You have a broadcast that's consistently getting thousands of views. Every match is streamed on the mainstream and like properly covered and everything. And it's not without its issues, but at least there's that consistency that people know how to watch, when to watch, and who's going to be playing. And EMEA, I think, has just done such a bad job of like raising awareness of these tier 2 circuits. And obviously it's hard because EMEA is a massive region, but I still think it's possible to have something more combined, even if it's just like West and East or something like that, just like 2 or 3 instead of however many it is right now. I think what you said, 9 or 10 leagues playing.
Yeah.
It just makes it so tough. And it reminds me honestly of like the early days of EMEA, where kind of like EMEA, I guess having as many fans kind of fell behind because there was a lack of broadcast and coverage for the teams that were playing back in like 2021, where like games weren't getting streamed, or they were getting streamed on like a million different channels, and it was impossible to find games and find VODs and everything. And honestly, well, it's going to be better in tier 1 now, and it has been better in tier 1. There are big echoes of that here in the tier 2 of EMEA, which does feel like a failure.
Can I ask, how the fuck do these leagues even come together for Ascension? I don't even understand.
They
Like-
go to a big league not a league, a tournament with all the different VRL teams. No, sorry. It's just literally just all the VRL teams promote one or two teams or whatever. Probably just one, and they have a 19 tournament. Just like the
Really? So you have to
promotion.
win your regional league in order to go through. That seems so bizarre because you're like at a massive disadvantage if you play with, you know, you're at a disadvantage if you play in the Northern Europe Polaris League because Ascender in there. Not Ascend, sorry, Apex. You're at a massive disadvantage if you play in the East because Ascender there. Like, it's such a backwards system. But they're allocating points, and they're allocating different amounts of points in the different leagues too. I'm so confused how the system works. I'm just going to tune in for the big tournament at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what every other fucking viewer is doing too. And there's always a problem with EMEA actually marketing against their viewership, because marketing budgets are set for countries or like smaller areas. They're not set for Europe, you know. They don't have a European budget in the same way that companies have a US budget. So breaking things down into these kind of things presumably would make them easier to sell against sponsors. Like selling a French sponsor on the French league seems like it would be a great idea from a marketing point of view, but it's getting like 10 viewers. It's getting like 10 people. You can market to 10 people. You can sell your croissants to 10 fucking people. The people that are tuning in to watch the French stream.
Don't talk about the French.
How's it going to work?
Josh,
No,
stop.
You're
You've
barred.
already gone too far against the French people.
Yeah.
Bring up a different country.
No.
Okay,
no.
I mean
German.
I do not want to start down this track of just stereotyping every single European country. It's
for
not
it.
a good plan. It's not going to work. But my point is that they need to also have the viewership, not just have the discrete markets.
Josh has already listen. Don't talk about any more countries, Josh. You're already banned from 2 of them. You can't go to France. You can't go to Japan.
I mean, that's why they're not doing it in Tokyo. Is because I would get fucking destroyed if I step foot in the city. I'm not allowed within a 100-mile radius. That's why they had to hold it in Chiba.
You show up with a disguise,
No wonder
with
you're so
sunglasses and a
happy.
toupee. Just out of control. How have your DMs been since the 100 Years' War 2?
Nothing.
Really?
Just pure silence from the
Yeah,
French.
nobody's watching those.
Yeah,
They're
no one's
living
watching
in-
the
they're
videos.
living
They
in
literally
bliss.
don't know.
They don't know yet. It's only
They
going to take
literally don't know.
one person to post it on a forum.
No,
somewhere.
someone atted the main guy that had made the tweet. Not that he was sending any bad messages my way or something, but
Yeah.
the guy who made the original tweet got added in something, and he was just like, "Lol, that's funny, but I hope we do well, so we have a lot of ammo to throw back at him." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fair." But
Damn.
so what's gonna happen is, I can tell you what's gonna happen. I can tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is Karmicor are going to fix their fucking problems that I've pointed out, and then they're going to be decent, and then they're going to get to Tokyo, and then all of the French fans are going to be like, "You're dumb, you're dog shit, terrible analyst. This team was amazing all along." Like, no, they just fixed their problems. I can tell this is already happening. I'm pre-molding.
That's always my favorite, when like a team that was just so bad for so long finally gets a win, and then the people that love that team, I knew the whole time. It's always funny how that's so common. I remember that being the case when FaZe had like Raucus and Zachary, and they were just taking L after L, and then they finally they did well at that one tournament, whatever it was. They came in second against Sentinels, and the FaZe fan, we knew all along. we knew the whole time. It's like, yeah,
That's Zeta Division, the colorized version, the story that you've just told. Just terrible online, did well at a LAN, not done anything since then. Fans are ecstatic.
Anyways,
Just
I'd rather-
wait until 2 days from now.
I'd
Go on,
rather
Paula.
EMEA VRLs just all died and they ran individual tournaments that were open to everybody, and we could organically become hype about whatever tournaments have the best teams, and
That would be sick.
That'd be based.
and then we could qualify just randomly, say assign points to whatever tournaments that are happening, and everybody needs to compete to get the most points.
Question
Woo!
out there: are we live today, Kurt? I don't know.
Yeah, we're live.
But
Yes,
to
yes,
all
we're
the
live.
chatters here that know League of Legends, I know League has a very similar system in their game with Europe of having like these regional leagues. Like they have like the LFL, which is like French league, and I think they have that for all the different like little
They
different
do.
countries and regions. Is it successful in that game, or is it similar to this where viewership
It's-
is fractured and no one cares?
I know you're talking to chatters, but it is successful in that game.
Kurt, you can be a chatter too, Polly.
Okay, I'm a little timid now. It is successful in that game for most of the regions, specifically like France and Spain are the big ones, because guess what? The orgs were made by content creators, and then those orgs became huge, like Carmen Core and Koi, and that's why those leagues were successful. So, sound familiar, guys? NA?
Yeah, it
Sound
does
familiar?
sound familiar.
That sounds very familiar. We're just like France and League. God
Because
bless.
that's essentially what the VRLs are trying to do, is tap into that regional viewership, which is very, very strong. Like if you look at any content creator, like global like stuff, there's a lot of regional creators that are way up there. Like the Spain creators are way up there, the Brazil creators way up there, because I mean it's a whole fucking country that they're catering to. So like
It's a whole
matters.
language.
So yeah, it's a whole language. So they get tons. The problem is that there's none of those popular players or content creators or anything within these leagues. Yes, we have good players, but we don't have any of that viewership from the popular players or influencers.
They can't become popular because no one's watching to begin with.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, yeah, they'd have to grow their brand. So maybe that guy was right all along, Portillo.
All right, guys, we're talking too much about EMEA VRL. We need to move on. We've given too much time
Lost
to
all our viewers.
the VRLs. VCT VCT Pacific starts in 2 days. Let's take a peek at the matches and give our thoughts on the
Yay.
outcomes.
Yay, Valorant.
Yeah.
We've got, I don't know, hold on. These matches are here somewhere. Oh, they're on the
No,
right.
Yeah.
This works too.
That's fine.
It's so far away. I need
Zeta Division
binoculars.
DRX first. And then
Okay,
T1
yeah,
and
so
Global
Zeta
Esports.
DRX, I see what they're doing here. Nice little high viewership game to start things off, and DRX are going to win.
Are we doing pick'ems or just looking?
We're just looking and just talk. Are there even pick'ems for this?
There are.
Oh, do you want to do them?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
a couple.
Zeta DRX. DRX.
Dirks.
DRX. DRX.
I really, really, really would like to see Zeta Division get to Masters. I feel like it would be
Yep.
the perfect situation for all of the Japanese fans, but I'm just not thrilled with the way that they're redesigning their team around Depp. I don't think Depp played that badly at lock-in, but my God, it's just the same situation where teams that don't make roster moves over the offseason are getting hard punished for it because they didn't have optimal rosters to begin with. It's
And they were already hitting dry spells in the first place. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and they only play one style as well. They play this like really... Actually, they did have an interesting take on like a Haven a long time ago where Depp was playing Neon and they played with a lot higher tempo.
oh yeah, true.
And I liked that, and I wanted them to bring more of that kind of stuff to the forefront. Hopefully by playing against these better teams, by playing against... DRX, by playing against PaperX, and you get these like massive different styles. Maybe Zeta can start picking up some different stuff, but I don't think this is the place to begin.
Now that they're in Korea, do you think Connor's prestige will come through? You think DRX's brains is in their
One
body
step
yet?
closer. This is
We're
actually
close.
where it would happen, wouldn't it be, huh?
That is our most viewed video on the channel, and the most viewed part of that video is the prestige.
That's
People must be
crazy.
going back and watching that segment.
What?
over
How
and
does
over.
that happen? I don't
I
get
don't
it.
know. I don't know.
T1 versus Global. This is an interesting game.
Hello, India.
Hello, India, GE fighting. global
GE
win.
fighting. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with GE. No troll.
T1 looked pretty dreadful at lock-in. And I was actually, once GE got warmed up, I was actually fairly like, I was like, okay, this team has something. Like, although I think there is also some visa issues they're working through right now. So there's a chance that they won't have their Indian players able to play for the first matchup. I'm not sure if that's going to come to fruition or not. If so, there might be a chance that T1 win. But I would say GE is pretty heavily favored roster.
There are some bright spots for T1 in the sense that Carpe did not look terrible at lock-in, and we know that the rest of the players can perform better, right? Like that, you're not always going to get really poor performances out of Zeta, presumably, and, Saya. I think role swaps would really help this team, and I hope that that's what they've done in the... I hope that that's what they've learned from lock-in, is that they could benefit from shifting the roles around a lot, because Ban looks quite uncomfortable. And I'd like to see them try and put him in a star role, because I feel like other people on that team have more experience to be able to go elsewhere and still find a lot of value. I think this is a great game to get a feel for how both of these teams are doing. I think it's going to be close. I think people are maybe writing off T1 a little early. I think this is the kind of game that they can win.
Yeah, they could win. I just haven't seen anything yet to inspire me.
By the
Yeah,
way, one thing we didn't talk about, which we probably don't have much to say anyways, but just because the context matters here. Intro joined T1 and they dropped their 6-man Byomjun for him. I don't know whether or not that is going to make an impact on the team, but things seem to be happening on that team.
Gotcha.
Yes, and I wouldn't be surprised if Intro was playing as well.
Me too.
I could see them making a shift, and I mean maybe the shift that they would make is not even having Ban on the team and having Intro come in and having Munchkin play full-time Sentinel or something, but that would be disappointing to me.
Next up, PaperX versus Detonation. What is it? What is their full name?
Focus me, Detonation. Focus me.
Oh, I thought it, dude, it's at such
Focus
a
on
distance.
me. Like,
I
get
forgot
it?
what it was. I thought it said like Detonation Freak Me, and I was that is a terrible name. But Focus
It
Me a
really-
little bit better.
It really doesn't matter because everyone's just going to be talking about Paper X. Everyone's going to be talking about Detonation's
Yeah.
opponents in almost all of their games.
It also seems like a game where something could just drop plus 50 again. To be honest,
Yeah, they could sub him in early.
Team Secret versus Talent.
That's a good game.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's a good game.
Going Talent though, personally. Anyone
I think
keeping
both
a
of these-
secret?
I think both of these teams are going to look worse than they did at lock-in. Personally, that's my little
Sure.
take from just watching the matches. The Talon players, when they were online, did not look anywhere near as good as they performed at lock-in, specifically Jitboy, but also I think that could be said for Garnet too. So I'm really looking towards those two to see whether they keep up their form from lock-in or whether they're going to drop back off again and play like they did previously. I think that's the key as to whether or not Talon win this game, actually, because there was such a dramatic improvement for how Jitboy especially was playing. He ended up being a really good, solid player for them, whereas in the run-up to that event, the VODs I was watching, albeit quite a long time before lock-in, he looked so rough. So it comes down to whether it was a good tournament or whether he has just improved and gelled with the team, and that keeps going.
Yeah. In the final game, RRQ
Oh,
Gen.G
we're going
and
with
Gen.G.
Talon, no?
I think we should pred Talent.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm going Talon. I thought we
Yeah.
were on Talon. My bad.
Yeah, I was thinking
Um,
of making an argument for Secret, but thinking back to like the two games that Talon played, they played both EG and whoever the fuck they beat in the first one of the Brazilian teams, I think. Like there were so much that they went against it. They proved to me that I think they'll be fine.
And also, Secret got a free win because
Yeah.
Team Liquid had,
Not that they looked
Fucking-
bad, but yeah, Secret looked.
yeah, they were crypto throwing. So
Yeah. Agree. Yeah, they looked absolutely fine in that game, but more impressed with Talon at the event. And yeah, Gen.G kind of, yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone here is going to be going with RRQ. Or am I wrong?
no.
All right.
Absolutely not.
Match of the week. I'm definitely most excited to watch the global game. I think global T1. I want to see T1 if they can, I don't know, start to string something together. And it seems like a reasonable first win for global esports as well. I think that game should be pretty interesting. There's some intrigue there.
For me, I feel like the match of the week might be the Talon game. I feel like that is probably the one that's going to be closest. That's going to be the one that I think is going to like see which of these teams, like if either of the teams is kind of like a moment of like looking really good, or for Talon at lock-in, or if they can actually maintain this form and be one of the top teams in Pacific. Because especially with, I just read back through the Twitter, and it is confirmed that the Indian players on GE aren't going to be able to play this week because of passport issues that they're trying to sort through right now.
Oh,
So
shit.
I think for me that partly
Is
means that I'm a little more excited for
is
that.
Wronski
other
back?
game.
Does it say? Because he had to fly back.
So
Remember,
he
didn't
says
play.
visa update. I can link you this tweet, Kurt.
Yeah,
So the
'cause
owner of
Global didn't
GE
even have their
says,
full roster.
visa update, every non-Indian passport holder from GE is now in Seoul, South Korea, ready for the Pacific League starting this week. Indian
Right.
passport holder visa are currently still under process. As soon as we get our passports back, we will fly. Rossi, Galu, Batsal, and me. This could be tomorrow or day after or next Monday or in April. There's nothing left for us to do. Everything has already been submitted a while ago. Now we just need to wait for our passports to come back soon.
I know that feel. Oh my god, I've been there. Yeah, that sucks. That situation is very annoying and it's completely out of your control. I think though they should be fine because I think with Wronski playing, assuming that he's been, I'm kind of reading between the lines there that he is in Korea because he's still on the team, right? So
Yep,
he should be there with them. I think they should still be able to put up a good performance. I was talking to the coaches actually, and they were always planning to have a 6-person rotating roster. So they were rotating Wronski in and out based on the map. So they didn't get hurt that much for lock-in because they'd already practiced with that 5 on a decent amount of their maps. And they should still be fine for this as well because, again, they should have practiced with this 5 too, I believe.
Gotcha. All right. And the final breaking news topic, Counter-Strike 2. What is the deal here? What's going on?
There's
Is
a
it
whole-
Counter-Strike Go on Source 2?
Yes.
And where is TF3? That is my big question still. God damn it, Gabe Newell. Put it out. So Counter-Strike 2 is real. I don't know what's going on here. I need to see some kind of media on my screen so I can read it out loud.
Just give us media.
Where's the media?
There's a whole
Or
website. I will
some
link.
kind of video or whatever you
Oh
got.
shit, he's got it.
Holy shit.
Ladies and
The
gentlemen,
next
he's
era
got
of
it.
Counter-Strike begins this summer.
Oh, that is such tiny text. Hold on. Counter-Strike
Good thing you
2
have this
is...
big screen for yourself.
Thank you, Kurt. Counter-Strike 2 is the largest technical leap forward. Holy shit, it's going to be in VR. In Counter-Strike's history, ensuring new features and updates for years to come. All the game's new features will be revealed when it officially launches this summer, but the road to Counter-Strike 2 begins today as a limited test for select CSGO players. Y'all think they gave it to Tarek? During this testing period, we'll be evaluating a subset of features to shake out any issues before the worldwide release. Counter-Strike 2 arrives this summer as a free upgrade to CSGO. Free! So build your loadout, hone your skills, and prepare yourself for what's next.
God, when people say build your loadout, it fucking freaks me out. This game is not about building your loadout.
Counter-Strike 2 responsive smokes.
Yeah, they updated the smokes in the game, and it's pretty dope. And you'll see.
Honestly, they
as-
made everything so bright. All the dark corridors are gone. This is just another child's game now.
Yeah. They got rid of the dark corridors. These smokes are so unusual, though. They work in a way where they fill like they fill the spaces.
Yeah, and also
look,
you can
and
shoot through them, and
It
make,
works like a
holes in
Viper.
the smoke.
They're all
The
Viper
Viper
ults.
That's crazy.
I mean, look at that.
I mean, this is some actual child game type shit.
Holy!
Like, what?
I mean, shooting through them.
What?
What?
Oh
Whoa,
my
the
You
nade
can
god!
nade
kinda-
it.
Holy
Wait, what?
technology.
Why?
Okay, so we're all going to Counter-Strike, right? We're giving up on Valorant.
So-
Yeah, of course.
No, wait, why? Why? He shot through the smoke and it fucking cleared space. Like, what? That makes no sense.
yeah,
The bullet is like fast, and smoke moves when fast go past it. So, idiot, you should have
The
known
bullet is
Oh,
fast.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
that. Dude, that looks. The Counter-Strike 2 logo looks like a fucking John Wick movie title. What
Yeah,
the
I kind of
fuck?
like it. I also
that is
that's
such a bonkers interaction that is going to completely change the game. No,
I can't wait to see the
Yeah.
clips of like every Counter-Strike pro player
Not
like
really.
actually having a
Game changer. Oh my
Joker
god.
moment.
Game changers.
You
Holy
don't
shit.
think you don't think having nades be able to counter a smoke and give you options is a massive
Oh, they made the
change to how
train
the game plays?
nicer.
I feel like
they made
that's
it like a
crazy.
proper like German S-Bahn train. Oh, that's so cool. It was just brown before. They made it. Yeah, that's like it looks like the Berlin S-Bahn.
Holy shit.
Popping
My bad,
out
guys.
about the train.
Mimi's honest reaction to transportation.
No. That looks like the. Oh, that's awesome. Good change. I'm switching to Counter-Strike too.
Yes, though,
I
Josh.
kinda
100%
wanna-
it changes it, but like, come on now. It's not gonna change the flow of the game. Like you're just gonna have strats about breaking
Yeah.
open the nade or the smoke so you could shoot through it.
That is
I'm not saying they're going to
really-
be playing a they're not going to be playing a completely different game. No,
Dude, it reacts to the lighting.
I
That's
don't really understand what that
crazy.
means. What does react to the light?
But you can see there the
It's
like
more
the
realistic
shadows
light and color.
displayed on
Oh, I
parts of it are lighter and darker.
This was a mistake. That was a mistake.
I think Kurt's computer is
I meant
dying.
to unmute my microphone and I pressed the wrong button. Sorry about that. Actually, the smokes do make that music too.
That's fine. Is there more below this?
Yes.
Moving
Oh
beyond
yeah, they had
secret.
this.
Moving
They have a
beyond
different system
tick
that's
rate?
like not to do with ticks somehow. I don't know how.
It sounds like when Valorant came out and they were like, there will be no peeker's advantage and no advantage in online play, and then it just was. Like I feel like this is just marketing BS.
I don't
don't know.
think
I
never
Valve
know
is
the
really a
exact-
marketing BS company.
Yeah.
This
Well,
this
I think
whole
what
everything
they
they're
do is
showing is
smart.
like, look at us. Source 2 is fucking dope. This is what we're doing with Source 2.
But I don't know what it means, so I don't believe in it.
All right.
Well, I think though what they've done is they've they introduced sub-tick updates. They were talking about this even before they had announced this. And then also everything is now server-side, the same as Valorant, I believe. So you know how in Valorant it checks back with the server to see whether or not you've landed your shot, and then it rewinds the player's position in order to check whether you've hit. I don't know. I don't know. I've watched videos about it, and I still don't quite understand how the fuck it works. But I think
it should
they're making it more
hypothetically
like
just
that.
mean probably better hit reg in online matches.
And I also think that it might help them with cheat detection or cheat prevention too, because you take much more away from the client side.
That is pretty cool though. All right, what's next? Is there more? Are there new skins? Leveling up the world.
We added trains and we made them accurate.
That's kind of cool. Like 1.6 and Source and then
God, I love
CS:GO
1.6.
and then
Source is so dog shit.
what? I can't even hear you.
Sources
It's-
go
He was just mumbling about how Source is dog shit.
Oh. So they're upgrading the maps, making map changes, changing some of the lighting, making everything prettier. I like it. They really are getting rid of the dark corridors.
Oh, this is
Yeah. I mean, presumably they've looked at stuff like Valorant and the way that they've, optimized for visual clarity, and they're looking to do that whilst keeping the same feel of CS.
Yeah, definitely.
I
It's
wish
actually
the characters
gorgeous.
had little outlines like in Valorant, because I can't see people if they don't have a little outline around them.
I agree. I think that's actually a huge issue with CS as far as like
Visual clarity
clutter.
stuff.
Yeah, visual clarity, ease of play.
Yeah.
I don't see a
Seems
difference.
like removing the dark corridors is a step in the right direction. Children will absolutely adore this. Also, it's just so pretty. Like the lighting is so much prettier. I can't wait to play this on low settings.
Anything more, Kurt? I feel like there's probably more. I would imagine, but
Accidentally close the page.
below the
one more.
maps. That's okay.
The map changes are literally just repetitively saying lighting and clarity has been updated. Here's examples.
Okay. Gotcha.
But they also, there's tools stuff, and then yeah,
Yeah,
They've
map
reworked the
stuff,
audio
tick
as
rate.
well. So
Cleaner.
they've got a whole thing about more accurate audio at the bottom too. So I
Well,
don't know
they said
exactly
that
how they're going
before.
to do that, but
so
I started playing on my Valorant account though, and didn't turn on that like HRTF or whatever it's called setting, and holy shit, it's impossible to play the game without that turned on though.
yep, and CS went through the exact same thing where they didn't have HRTF, and then they added it, and then it got better, but it's still ass. So hopefully this is real, because the audio in old games were so good, man, so good in comparison to this. Yeah, it sounded like ass, but like you could actually tell where stuff was coming from.
All right. Now this is what I'm talking about. Upgrading the skins. And they made the skins prettier. And then also high diff VFX. The environment effects are different. The gameplay visuals are different. That blood is looking very
Blood
realistic.
disappears. You don't need to
Valorant
do
would
like
never.
the clear decal thing anymore. That's awesome.
So the
Or
blood
like people
just whoa. It like splatters in a more realistic way and
Yeah, an
looks
issue
more
with
realistic.
CS:GO was
Not a
that
child's game.
blood decals and any decals would just stay there forever unless you had like a bind to clear the decals. Now they're making them.
and it would like
Yeah.
lag you if it didn't. So now it's more server side stuff instead of making things inaccessible. More accessibility.
Gotcha. So they changed the environment effects, made the UI better. The bomb explosion looks better. Accurate audio, so they're improving the audio to better reflect the physical environment, to be more distinct and express more game state. Pretty cool. I like listening. And there's more to come. The limited test only evaluates a subset of Counter-Strike 2's features, so that major issues can be resolved before the summer. But there's much more to come. In just a few months, we'll reveal all the details of CS2, and we can't wait to share it with you. Guys, can two games coexist, or do we have to pick one or the other? Thoughts?
Well, they can't coexist.
Yeah. We're going to lose all of our players, and if we don't kill this game, Valorant's dead. So we need to start dismantling Counter-Strike, besmirching it, finding all of the bugs and flaws, possibly infiltrating the Valve offices. Otherwise, everything we know and everything we love is going to come crashing down around our ears.
Kat, if you're a real Valorant fan, you need to download some Spinbot software and go ruin some people's experience in Counter-Strike 2. Get at it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Holy shit.
On the real though,
Salty.
don't be annoying about CS2. People can like multiple things. That's what happened when like, dude. God, it just happens with.
I feel like the
every new
Valorant
game,
community is not bad about that though.
We'll
Like the
see.
Valorant
Well,
community doesn't.
they
really
will
We'll
take
see
the
when the
piss
game
out of
comes
it.
out. We'll see
Oh,
when the game
relax.
comes out.
They're gonna be
People
so
are gonna be
fucking...
pissed at you for streaming CS2. It's
Uh-huh.
gonna be. Don't be
You
that guy.
betray Valorant.
Are you quitting Valorant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As multiple games can exist, don't be a dick.
I mean, it just hasn't happened yet. We haven't had the TF2 when Overwatch is coming out moment yet for Valorant because it's still so new and popular. It'll happen eventually.
Still not happening,
And this
by the
might
way.
be-
I don't think it'll happen this time around though. I think it'll wait. There'll be
This is
another big
CS:GO
game.
This is CSGO 0.5, bro. This isn't even fucking... This is just them doing things that should have been done years ago when I was still playing fucking CS because they're very important things that they never did, and they never updated the audio, and they never made the dark places better, and I quit the game.
Actually, less of an update than Overwatch 2.
Hey, they're still announcing more features, Josh.
Hey,
and also-
they added any more heroes?
Hey, Josh, it already has a demo viewer already, so it's kind of beating Valorant.
We're actually getting blown the fuck out already.
I hope they fix the demo viewer in this game because the demo viewer in CS is actually the most like painful shit to use. It's so bad, but at
Really?
least it exists. Haha.
Dude, if they
I
make
like it.
fucking out of here.
Time to make a video.
gone.
You ready?
Team
Wyatt?
Fortress 3, I am ready to feed.
Yeah, so the weekly award, are we punching this one? I mean, it got so laggy on my end. I thought it was gonna crash for sure. This week, I am going to give the weekly award. You know him, you love him. I'm giving it to Van Silly. Why, you may ask? Why Van Silly? Josh does the sus face. Why Van Silly? He's just a lovable man, and I like him very much, and he has a kind soul, and I'm looking forward to giving him a big old hug when I see him in LA. And I'm happy for him, and he's very excited about being on the broadcast for VCT Americas. And
Is
congrats to him
this
for that,
serious?
and I'm
Are
just
you actually
excited
giving
see-
it to Van Silly?
What? Yeah.
Have you seen what he's been tweeting recently?
Oh, I mean, I know he tweeted an absolutely outrageous dinner.
Go to his
If you
go to
go
his
to the
media
media.
tab. This is.
Don't go to his media.
Don't do it. I'm gonna.
I mean, scroll down until you see something that vaguely resembles food, but clearly isn't
a lot
food.
Of gifs.
Not that.
I don't even know what that
Oh
is.
God!
No.
End the episode. Revoke the award and end the episode. No.
That's the one I'm thinking about.
Oh,
That's
bro.
the one. What
This
on
guy is fucking.
earth is
you,
it? I mean,
you're
it's
can you revoke the award? Just give it to me.
too late. It's too late. It is too late. I mean, what even is that? Hold on.
That is, I asked him this question. That is cream cheese, hot sauce, and microwaved hot dog on a wrap, and it's fucking wet. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't sound that bad. All put. And look at what he could be eating. Look at the previous tweet. Look at what he could be eating, and instead he chooses to eat that abomination above. Oh,
That is a wife's cooking if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I know what that is. We know who cooked that meal, and it wasn't. It was not Van Silly. It was not Van Silly. All right. Thank you guys for watching episode 126. We will see you guys for episode 127 coming at you next week. Same time, same place, 30 minutes late. You know the fucking vibes. We will see you next week. Goodbye.